Hello, good evening, and good day, everybody, and welcome back to the Ask Abhijit show. Today, I'm doing this on Monday because yesterday there was a cricket match that everybody wanted to watch, and it did not make sense to go live yesterday. So I'm doing this today, and welcome to all of you. Good evening to those of you who are in the evenings, for whom it is evening, and good day to those of you who are somewhere where there's a date, where it's daytime. And I'm going to take questions today from the super chat and live chat, as many as possible, right? So before we get into it, let's see who all is there on the live chat. Today is an unusual day, Monday, not Sunday. So let's see who all is there. I can see Kratos Aryavartavasi, Shivasai GV2FL, Aniket. Aniket is there. Who else do we have? Bhaskar Bandit. Hello, Aniket, once again. Ritik Pawar, Geopolitical Dubey is here from Indore. Good to see you as always. Hani Sharma. Hani Sharma is also here. Incredible. Advait Ashwini, Hani Sharma once again. The only mighty warrior. Bhaskar Bandit once again. Hani Sharma, SKR7733. Hari Banana Higard. Really now, Miss Patel. Sab Kushal Mangal. Yes, indeed. Sab Kushal Mangal. Vikash PJ. Bhaskar Bandit. Hari as well. Once again. Rohan Bidi. Vande Matram sir. Nirvana Shanks. Kodichiwa. Somi. Hello. Bhaskar Bandit is here from Moscow. Good evening to you, sir. Go to Ram Ram Sabko. Yes, indeed. Pratik Vora. Advait Ashwini. Abhishek Shukla live. India won. Well, big surprise, yeah? I mean, was it even a contest? I mean, if you look at the result, it was exactly as expected. So India won. Yes, outstanding. Brave Robot says, time to cook dinner. It's ramen time. All right. Tech G78807 is here from Delhi. Hello. Mac4J1U, namaskar. Tanmay Deshpande, hello. General Subothai, hello. Swami is here from Jaipur. History GOT8L, namaste. Darshan Patil, namaste ji. Rahul is also here with an interesting surname. Okay. Kasta Jivana, hi. Random Skull, Jai Shri Krishna, good to see you, sir. Random Skull. Akash, not Zul 7138, hi. Anant Pai, namaskar. Somi says, have I seen Silence of the Lambs? Yes, I've watched it. Yes, good movie. Meteor Smasher, namaskaram, indeed. Agam Senpai. Amisha Mishra, good evening, ma'am. Good to see you. Kushbu Art, namaskar. Humanity Survives. Did I watch the match? Says Humanity Survives. I saw some portions of it near the end, and it was not even a contest. So, yeah. Anyway, good result for India, of course, and no surprise. Pandurang Rola, namaste. Go to. Darshan Patil, namaste ji, namaste. Happy Monday. The only mighty warrior. So good to see you as well. Real Vladimir Putin, Jai Shri Ram ji. Abhishek Shukla live is here from Kanpur. High on Hope, Priyanka Javalia, namaste, ma'am, namaste. Abhishek Bardwaj, hello. Vishal Patro, namaskar. Tech G is here from Delhi. Notzul, Sumit Z4I9X. Good evening to you. Somi, Vikash PJ, Blue Guy 07, hello. Darshan Patil, the only mighty warrior. Global Citizen, say 2862. Thank you so much, sir. Global Citizen G. Thank you so much. Very nice of you. Thank you so much. Ritwij, Pranam Ji. Chandni Priya, good evening, ma'am. Good evening. Ashley Moody says, listening while working 1632 in the afternoon here. Well, from Twitter. Thank you so much. Daksh Ram sir, Shivang Sharma, Vikash PJ, Mahi Shrestha, hello. Vipreet, hello. Darshan Patil, Notzul, Shady Koster ZSF, no likes given. So, Saturday is here. Ritwij, Nishant Sharma, Jai Shri Ram. Notzul is here from Pakistan. Good evening to you, sir, from Pakistan. To Pakistan, right. Vipreet, Shivang Sharma, Darshan Patil, Akhil, Pratham Khalavadia, hello. And so many other people. Manisha Kardoso ji, namaste, ma'am. Lalitanand, namaste ji. Avnish is also here. Takina is here from Dehradun. Good evening to you. Good to have you from Dehradun. Toxic Kratos says, did I watch Night of Seven Kingdoms? I haven't seen that. Meet Raj Singh Chudasama. Namaste. Hello. Bhaskar Bandit once again. And everyone else. Okay. Tech G. Omkar Kumbhar. Hatim Electric Wala. Hello. Vihang Korane, good evening. Jyotsna Tomar, namaste ji. Ujbal, namaste, pranam. Sahil Das Gupta, Skype, the Sky Prime, namaskar. Okay, so let's get going with some questions. Nikesh Dahal also is here. Namaste, Adarsh Kinila. Okay. Omkar Date, Sahil Dasgupta from Kolkata. Okay, what questions do we have? Let's get going with some questions. Kratos Aryavartvasi says, some kings in pre-Jewish Israel had Mitanni-inspired Aryan names. Okay, search Marwan Kilani Amarna letters local rulers research paper like Indaruta, Surata, Marianu warriors, etc. And let me know if you need the PDF. Well, let's quickly take a look at this. It's an interesting um, data point here that we have. So Marwan Kilani Amarna letters local rulers. What do we have? Is it this one? Naming practices and identity in the early late Bronze Age. Dr. Marwan Kilani. Marwan Kilani. This is about multiple names of local rulers are attested in the Amarna letters. Of course, Amarna letters are diplomatic correspondence between the Egyptian pharaohs and various local regional rulers. Linguistically, West Semitic, Hurrian, or Indo-Aryan. The names have been variously discussed and so on. Okay, so that's that. What do we have here? Journal of Ancient Egyptian Interconnections. Once again by Professor Marwan Kilani. It's the same paper. I could download the full text, but we will not do that right now. And so on. So it looks like we have some interesting revelations over here. So what we are talking about is pre-Jewish Israel. That's an interesting thing. Yeah. So what part of the world are we referring to? We're talking about the Levant, right, over here. So let's go there. We're talking about the region that is, the eastern seaboard, the east coast of the Mediterranean region. This region here, which includes today's Israel, Lebanon, western Syria, the west coast of Syria, and so on. That's the region we're talking about. And if we go north of that, if we go to Syria and Anatolia, that's where we had the Mitanni Empire and the Hittite Empire. And the Mitanni Empire and the Hittites, their rulers were of Aryan or Indo-Aryan origin. They were of Indian origin, essentially. And they had Indian or Indo-Aryan names. Their rulers like Tvesharatha and Paratatva and so on. Sanskrit names, essentially. And that is the time period we're talking about is about from 1600 BC to about, let's say, 1000 or 900 BC. That's the time period we're talking about. That's when you had the Hittite and Mitanni empires in this region, in Anatolia and Syria. Okay, and the oldest Sanskrit inscriptions are found from this region, surprisingly. Yeah, so this was an out of India migration back in the day, right? Let's say about 4,000 years before today must have started. And it's around 4,000 years before today that we find the sudden appearance of Indian zebu cattle in the region and also in Egypt. So clearly there was a migration of Indians out of India around this time. And this is definitely the pre-Jewish period, because the oldest attested Jewish names and inscriptions, etc., are from about 1100 BC or thereabouts. So it is after the Mitanni and Hittite period. So it makes sense that numerous kings in this region, including in present-day Israel, right, would have had Aryan names, Indo-Aryan names, because you would have Indian origin rulers ruling this region. Very interesting revelation, and I shall check this out in detail later on. But thank you very much for this very interesting piece of information. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I will find the PDF. I'll find it. Thank you, sir. Aniket says, what is 12,000-year-old Buga sphere which reacts to Sanskrit? I'm not sure what that is. I've heard about some Buga sphere which has some connections with UFOs and whatnot. Buga sphere. I'm not sure how old it is. It is claimed it's so and so. So let's quickly take a look at this Buga sphere. Buga sphere. So it's a mysterious, seamless metallic orb discovered in Buga, Colombia, in South America in March 2025. That's generated global speculation regarding its potentially extraterrestrial origin. It reportedly exhibited anomalous behaviors, including weight increases, electromagnetic responses to Sanskrit mantras, and internal complex fiber optic structures. It's soccer ball sized metallic sphere. It apparently showed erratic non-aircraft like flight before falling. No visible welding in the object, increasing weight, It increased from 4.5 pounds to over 22 pounds, apparently. The ability to cause nearby vegetation to die, and 3 layers of metal, 18 microspheres, and so on and so forth. It reportedly responds to 190 to 300 hertz frequencies, specifically to Sanskrit mantras, by vibrating and emitting electromagnetic surges. Some believe it's an advanced alien sphere, and some suspect it's a hoax or a human-made object. So that's what we know. What's it look like? Let's take a look at what this thing looks like. So this is what the object looks like. It seems to have some inscriptions in some kind of hieroglyphics or something, or some kind of ancient or unknown script possibly, but we don't know what the origins of this object are. So it doesn't say how old it is. I mean, you can't really date a metallic object. Carbon dating is done only when it's possible, only when you have organic material, organic matter. That's where organic matter, like human tissue, etc., or animal tissue or plant tissue, that contains carbon. And there's a carbon isotope called carbon-14 that decays at a certain rate, and that's why we can date these ancient artifacts if they contain organic residue. But this metallic sphere obviously won't have any organic residue, so you can't do carbon dating on it. So I'm not sure on what basis whatever dating has been assigned to it, if it has. So so I don't really know much about it. I haven't studied this. I haven't looked into the details. Is it real? Is it authentic? Is it a hoax? Can't say for sure. Aniket says, report says that Russia will resume trade in USD. Okay, I'll keep an eye on it. I personally haven't seen this thus far. Okay, I'll keep an eye on this. Aniket says, Doval said, won't be bullied, will wait out Trump's term. Well, it's a reasonable approach to have. See, Trump's administration is, well, clearly their policy is to bully everybody, including their allies, including their close allies and vassals, including the European nations, their close allies, including everybody else. And obviously, they have this policy towards India, that's of containment and bullying and arm twisting and so on. So obviously, we would like to have a productive and reasonably fair relationship, mutually beneficial relationship, friendly relationship with the US. We would like to have that. The US is the most important nation in the world. We can't ignore it. So we would like to have a good, constructive, positive relationship with them. But as long as their approach is that of bullying and all that, and arm twisting, and having maximalist demands and demanding concessions and demanding essentially vassalage, it doesn't make sense to bend the knee and cave in. So I haven't seen this particular report of what Shri Doval said, but if he said that, it obviously makes sense, right? And I'm not sure if the US approach will change after this current administration leaves office, the Trump administration, but let's wait and watch. Yeah, because see, things change, the world changes, the world evolves, and as the world evolves, the approaches of various nations evolve. So it makes sense to not get bullied, don't give in to arm twisting tactics, don't give them everything they want, don't give in to maximalist demands, and wait it out. Makes sense. It is a reasonably, so not just reasonable, it's a very good approach to have. Aniket says, India is reducing oil imports from Russia, but the reduced oil purchased by some unknown country in Asia. Yeah, so look, it doesn't really make sense for India to give up purchasing Russian oil. Russian oil is discounted, that's number one. And number two, we have a very good, very strong, and very important relationship with Russia. It's our, longest close partner. Longest is it's the longest relationship in, with the nation that we have, where that nation is a close partner, and it's a pretty good relationship. And it's very important for India to continue this relationship and to take this relationship further and not allow third parties to dictate how this relationship goes with Russia. So the Americans are claiming, okay, Marco Rubio is claiming, and the US statements, whichever they put out, they claim that India has committed to stop buying Russian oil. Well, that's what the Americans are saying. India has not said any such thing. No Indian statement has agreed to what the Americans are saying. So maybe it's this may be just one more American arm twisting tactic where they claim that India has committed to doing so and so, even though India may not have committed to doing that. And then by making this public claim that India has committed this, then they can exert pressure on India to actually make this happen. So India is obviously in a difficult position. We do want access to the US market. It's important for India's exports, right? It's the biggest market in the world. So we do need access to this market. But at what cost are we willing to pay to obtain access at 19% tariff rate to this market? That's the question. So it's quite likely that a lot of this oil that was being purchased was coming through intermediaries and third parties and whatnot, not directly from Russia. So let's see how this goes. I am hoping that we don't just cave in and stop purchasing Russian oil, which it sends messages to the world. It sends a message to the BRICS nations. It sends a message to the global south. It sends a message to all of India's partners that India will be bullied and India will cave into arm twisting, right? And that has a big effect on our negotiations with other countries. So we can't afford to let this happen. So hopefully India will, tough it out. Aniket says, compare KR-KP relationship with INPK. KR-KP. What's KR-KP? Similar difference. KR is Korea, is it? KP is what? I'm not really sure. KR and KP. India, Pakistan, I understand. KR, Kyrgyzstan? No. Korea? North Korea? What nation is KR? KR nation abbreviation. What's KR? South Korea, I suppose. What's KP? What's KP? KP. Nope. KP. North Korea. Okay, so you asked me to compare the relationship between South Korea and India, Pakistan, and North Korea and India, Pakistan. Well, South Korea, you have to understand what is the nature of the nation. South Korea is a US vassal, and their relationship with India and Pakistan will be essentially dictated either overtly or covertly by US interests. Now, South Korea has a reasonably good relationship with India. I'm not sure about its relationship with Pakistan. Pakistan is an economic non-entity, more or less. But I suppose they may have some kind of relationship with Pakistan. With India, we have a good relationship, mutual trade and whatnot. Shipbuilding also, I suppose, to some extent, and other things as well. We import South Korean products like electronics and other things. Pakistan also would do that, but does Pakistan have a different kind of relationship with South Korea? I'm not sure. North Korea, we have a reasonable relationship with North Korea. With North Korea and Pakistan, it is alleged that North Korean missile technology was used for the Pakistani military program, etc. It's possible, yeah, because see, North Korea is a Chinese asset, Chinese vassal, and China and Pakistan had this long dalliance, which still continues to a certain extent. So North Korea's relationship with Pakistan will be mediated, you could say, affected strongly by China. Yeah. Bhaskar Bandit says, Privyet, sir. Well, Privyet to you. Hope you had a great Mahashivratri. Yes, I hope everybody had a great Mahashivratri. If no one will be arrested after the Epstein files, assuming nothing happens to powerful people, who benefits from this? What long-term game is going on here? Okay. Let's assume, hypothetically, that nobody is arrested, nobody is prosecuted, everybody gets off scot-free. Yeah, and it looks like that's what's going to happen. I mean, Bill Gates is very clearly implicated in what's happened in the Epstein files, clearly implicated, and what's come out with respect to Bill Gates is very damaging. Very damaging. Even his ex-wife has put out statements about this, right? Which kind of indirectly, implicitly corroborates or doesn't deny the Epstein file claims about Bill Gates. And yet Bill Gates is traveling the world. He's being hosted in India. He's giving speeches in India. He's visiting various states in India. He's being given the red carpet treatment, right? So Bill Gates looks like nothing's going to happen to him. What about Howard Lutnick, Trump's minion, the Secretary of Commerce, I suppose? What is his designation? Howard Lutnick. Howard Lutnick, Secretary of Commerce. This fellow is all over the Epstein files in a most disgusting manner, and yet he is very much in power. He has not been thrown out of the cabinet by Donald Trump. Donald Trump, what about him? So the point is, it looks like all these people who are high and mighty, super powerful, super elite in the US, looks like, so it's the super wealthy and the super powerful and the super connected. Looks like nothing's going to happen to them. So the question is, who benefits from this? Why has this disclosure or huge number of files, why has it been disclosed? Lots of redactions, obviously. The FBI and the US government are protecting the accused, not the victims, it looks like. Right? Who benefits from all this? In a lot of cases, various names have come out. Deepak Chopra has been exposed. Stephen Hawking apparently has been exposed. Elon Musk, well, his name does figure, but doesn't look like he visited the island, but not because he didn't want to, because Epstein didn't want him to. Bill Gates and so many of these people. So a lot of these people are essentially people who, they're older people and people whose actions and activities and relevance was in the past. They are no longer that relevant today, right? So maybe it's a way of retiring these people. At least, even if no prosecution is done, even if nobody is thrown into jail, their credibility is gone now, right? Elon Musk seems to be shielded to some extent. Bill Gates will continue whatever he does, but he will no longer be in a position of real power. He's in a position of influence now, perhaps. So it looks like there's a big set of people who are being retired, forcibly retired. You people are now tainted, tarnished, your reputations are gone. And it's a new bunch of people who will now be in the corridors of power, positions of power, and who will essentially wield the levers of power and to some extent rule the world. Looks like it is these newer people who are the powerful people behind the scenes in the US who benefit from this. Long-term game, take a whole set of people who are very powerful, very rich, very relevant in the past, in the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and you retire, you sunset them now. Okay, and it's a new group of people, the young people, those who are in the 30s, 40s, 50s. Okay, and those who are not mentioned in the files, who are now going to be the movers and shakers and the wielders of power, who will now shape the future of the world. That seems to be the long-term game that's going on, that, as far as I see. Bhaskar Bandit says, how does a guy like Mamdani become mayor of New York, starts talking about socialist policies in the most capitalist city and country on the globe? Rather, how is he allowed to do all this? Well, Mamdani has won because the what is it? What's the word I use? Establishment. The establishment wants people like him. Now, why would the establishment want socialists to essentially rule over cities like New York? So New York is the financial capital of the world, isn't it? It's the most capitalist city in the world. The US is the most capitalist country in the world. And you have people like Mamdani and various other, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Ilhan Omar, all these lefties, socialists who are now increasingly in positions of power. What is going on is the question. Why are these people allowed to rise and acquire what seems like positions of power? How powerful are they actually? And what purpose do they serve? Maybe the purpose they serve is to obfuscate the truth. So just like, see, the US president is not really the person who rules the country of the United States. The US president's job is to divert attention away from where the real power lies, right? So it reminds me of Douglas Adams. Okay, Douglas Adams, president of the galaxy. Let's see, what did Douglas Adams say about the institution of the president of the galaxy? Let's say So the institution of the president of the galaxy is a cynical, absurdist joke designed specifically to hide where real power lies. It's really interesting, really prescient. So this is a science fiction book. It's a really funny science fiction book, and yet it's still so relevant today. Yeah, it is kind of, in a sense, a commentary on today's world. So according to the guide, the president of the galaxy is merely a figurehead with no real power whatsoever. The actual job is not to lead, but to draw attention away from the real power holders. Only 6 people in the galaxy knew that the job of the galactic president was not to wield power, but to attract attention away from it. Qualifications for the role: the position does not require leadership skills, but rather a capacity for finely judged outrage. It's designed to be a controversial and infuriating role. Anyone who is actually really capable of getting themselves made president should on no account be allowed to do the job. So he suggests that those who most want to rule are by definition the least suited to do it. Okay, so that kind of does, in a very strange sense, explain the institution of the president of the United States. The objective, the purpose of the president is to draw attention away from those who really have the power, who really wield the power. And similarly, when it comes to lower levels like Mamdani and mayors of cities and all, once again, possibly the purpose of these people is to draw attention away from where the real power lies. And if you want to know, well, where the real power lies, or maybe lay in the past in a city like New York City, read this book called The Power Broker by Robert Caro. It's a massive book, okay? It's a massive book, huge book, not an easy read. But if you want to understand how power really works, well, check this book out. So I think it's possible that the purpose of having people like Mamdani and whoever else, these lefties, these socialists who have values that are essentially counter to the American values, the purpose of having the purpose of elevating these people to various positions of power is to hide, to obfuscate where the real power lies. That is most likely the purpose and objective of allowing such people to rise to these so-called seats of power. Aniket says, why are some people upset about India's 0% and US's 18% tariffs, which are less than our competitors, when tariffs are paid by Americans, not us? Continued. There's a continuation somewhere. Let me see. Where is the continuation? Aniket. I'm trying to see if Aniket has asked a continuation. I don't see that. Okay. So the question essentially is, which is kind of self-contained, why are some people upset about India's 0% and US's 18% tariffs when tariffs are paid by Americans, not us? Well, it's because of misreporting, misinformation, and so on. It's true that India will be paying 18% tariffs on. No, India won't be paying. The US will be imposing 18% tariffs on a variety of goods that flow out of India and enter the US. Indian exports to the US. Now, when it comes to other nations, the tariffs are much higher that the Americans have imposed. Let's see, okay? What tariffs has the US imposed on the top 10 economies? Let's see. What tariffs has the US imposed on the? Okay, I mean, 1 second. Let me just let's try it again. Okay, top 10 economies. It won't tell you. Tariffs in the second Trump administration. Let's see. It's going to be a gigantic article. Okay, on India, China, France, UK, Germany, Italy. Let's see. Once again, it's not telling us. I'm not going to an old article. Okay, do we have something here? US tariffs by country, reject all, thank you. Australia 10% reciprocal tariffs, Bangladesh 37%, Brazil 10%, Cambodia 49%, Canada 25%, China 34%, EU 20%, India 26. 26? India is 19 now. This seems to be outdated. Okay, that's February 1. Indonesia 32. So India is 19. EU, European Union is 20. Indonesia is 32. Israel is 17. Okay, that's a special nation. Japan 24%, Mexico 25%, China 34%, Canada 25%, Pakistan 29, South Korea 25, Switzerland, Liechtenstein 31, Taiwan 32, Thailand 36, UK 10, UK is a special vassal, Vietnam 46%, and so on. As you can see, India has got one of the lowest tariff rates. Right? Now, if you expect that we should have absolute reciprocity, that India should also impose 18% tariffs on American goods, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to be an equal relationship. The US is, it's not an equal of India. India is no equal to the US, right? So if you look at it relative to the tariffs the US has imposed on other countries, including its allies, you will see that India has got a great deal. But people won't see this, right? People will just listen to some YouTuber somewhere or the other, or some news reader somewhere, or they'll just see whatever is there on social media and whatever people are outraging about. And based on that, based on several various headlines and things, they'll form an opinion and they'll get upset about it. It takes time to analyze things, right? I mean, even if it takes a few seconds actually, but still, even that is too hard for most people to do. And that's why people will just do this outraging. Bhaskar Bandit says, we know aliens and UFOs only visit the US. Oh, yes. They only visit the US. And they allegedly are distractions for the public. But how exactly is the American public made to be distracted by such things? What is the process of this disinformation? Well, the process of this disinformation is various podcasts, various books, news reports, social media reports, and so on. All you have to do to create a certain to create and maintain a certain narrative is to feed the public constant bits and bytes and pieces of information from various channels, distribution channels. That's all it takes. So social media is a great medium for this, whether it is X, Twitter, or Instagram, or Facebook, or whatever, various videos and reports of UFO activities. You love various UFO believers who will do podcasts, then news reports. So by constantly drip feeding such pieces of information at a certain rate, you can keep the public engaged in these matters, right? And if you want the public to have a surge of interest in UFOs and aliens, then you suddenly increase the rate at which this information is fed to the public. So like late 2024, there was this huge surge of UFO sightings in the US, right? New Jersey, you had like hundreds of UFO sightings every night. You still, I'm sure if you look at X, you can still find, I'm sure you will be still able to find videos from late 2024 from New Jersey and other parts of the US where you have all these UFO sightings. So if you want there to be this upsurge in interest, all you have to do is increase the tempo at which these pieces of information are released to the public. And that's the process of this disinformation. So what do I believe about UFOs and aliens? Look, as far as aliens are concerned, alien life in the universe, non-human life outside of planet Earth, I'm pretty sure it must exist. The universe is just too vast. How many stars do we have in the universe? Maybe 10 raised to 23, which is 1 followed by 23 zeros. That's how many planets that's how many stars we most likely have in the universe. Roughly, give or take, okay? And assuming each star has just one planet, well, we have 10 raised to 23 planets. If 1 out of 1 billion are capable of harboring life, then that's 10 raised to 17 such planets. If 1 out of 1 billion of those life harboring planets are capable of intelligent life, that's 10 raised to 11 planets with intelligent life. So you have what? 100 billion potentially planets in the universe with potentially intelligent life. Just, by plugging in those very approximate numbers. So I'm pretty sure there's life out there, but the universe is so vast and it's so empty that it's impossible, almost impossible for us to possibly ever find out, ever detect the signature of life. So that's where I stand when it comes to life in the universe. I'm pretty sure it exists, even intelligent life. But have we encountered it? I am very skeptical, extremely skeptical. I haven't seen any hard evidence. So that's where I stand with respect to this. Bhaskar Bandit says, immigration in Japan, people are not happy. The leader, Madame Sanae Takaichi, says they will take care of it. Surely this can't be just bad policies. Now, since they are vassals of the US, have the masters decided to change their demography? Well, of late, in the past couple of years, the nation of Japan has been allowing all kinds of immigrants to come in. A bunch of Bangladeshis, a bunch of people from God knows what other countries, and the Japanese people are very, very upset with that. Pakistanis, Bangladeshis who are carrying out religious processions on the streets of Japan, the kind of things that people in the UK are familiar with, they have started doing that. They have been demanding land for cemeteries, for burials, Japanese land for that, and so on. So the people are very upset with this. The people of Japan are very concerned about their culture, and they are very anti-immigration. Japan as a society is very anti-immigration, and we've got to respect that. Every society should decide its own policies. Every nation should have the absolute sovereign, undeniable right to decide its own policies. And if a nation decides that they don't want immigrants, then well, good. It's their right. Who are we to judge them for that? So the people aren't happy. Clearly, the people aren't happy. And now it looks like these policies will be reversed. Now, you are right to say that Japan is a US vassal, no question about it. So, since you had this happening the past few years, it looks like the US had decided that Japan will now become this nation that will accept immigration. It looked like that. The Americans seem to have decided. Now, Madame Sanae Takaichi is against that and looks like she will implement policies that will end immigration. So, does this bring her into conflict with the US, or has the US agreed to this? That remains to be seen. Japan obviously does face a massive demographic crisis. Their birth rates have plummeted horribly. The population is aging rapidly. And it's a major crisis for Japan. It's an existential crisis for Japan. So the US will say, oh, the solution is immigration. Bring in people from other countries. But then Japan is no longer Japan. Eventually, Japan loses its own cultural and civilizational identity, right? So what does Japan do about this is the big question. I think ending immigration makes sense, but how will they produce more children? It's not that easy. I mean, look at the structure of the society. It's very hard for people to take care of kids and so on. So it's a big challenge for them. But looks like this new government is going to shut the doors on immigration. Will this bring them into conflict with the US? That remains to be seen. So let's wait and watch. As of now, I don't have an answer to that question, whether the Americans have agreed to this or not, because these decisions happen behind closed doors. They are never spoken about in public. So let's wait and watch. Ritik Pawar says, why is the US ambassador Sergio Gore visiting India's Western Command? I don't know. Right? If we look at this, Sergio Gore, where's his Twitter account? I'm not a robot, sir. Traffic lights. Okay, let's find some traffic lights. And buses. Okay, let's find some buses. This proves that we are human, right? Now AI will decide, oh yeah, this fellow is human. So Sergio Gore, let's go to his Twitter account. Dark mode enabled. And now we have bright mode. Sergio Gore. So let's see what he has been tweeting about. Just landed in Chandigarh. Looking forward to visiting the Western Command of the Indian Army. Right? So clearly, the US ambassador is visiting the Western Command of the Indian Army. Why is he doing this? Well, from his perspective, he would like to visit every command of the Indian Army and find out exactly what the Indian Army is up to. He would like to visit the Indian Air Force commands, Indian Air Force bases, Indian naval bases. He would like to visit Indian submarines. He would like to visit Indian nuclear reactors and nuclear facilities. He would like to visit everything. The question is, why are we allowing the US ambassador to visit the Indian Army's Western Command? Why is the Indian government allowing the US ambassador to visit the Indian Army's Western Command? That is perplexing, actually. Right? It's perplexing. I don't have an answer to this. It's perplexing and concerning, in my opinion. I am concerned. This raises questions in my mind that I will not air right now, that I will not speak right now. But it raises concerns in my mind. So I'm not sure why the government of India is opening the doors of the Indian Army's Western Command to the US ambassador. Are we so friendly with the US now? I mean, which other countries do we give this sort of access to? Why the US? I don't have an answer. It's concerning. Bhaskar Bandit says, did we have the concept of psychologists or therapists in ancient Bharat as we have in the present day West, where two or more people sit and talk or listen? Or did this entire concept originate in the West itself? It's a very interesting question, but do I have the answer to this? I don't have the answer to this because we don't have the records of the past. We have some texts that have survived the Turkic destruction of India and the British destruction of India. We have some texts that survive, like the Sushrut Samhita and so on, a few texts about India's medical practices and so on. But the majority of our ancient texts were destroyed in the destruction and burning of our great libraries in the great universities of India, right? So if we had the concept of psychologists and therapists, etc., it would have been recorded in those texts, millions of texts, but those texts are lost. So as of today, we can't say, I don't know if we had this concept. I mean, our society was very advanced. Our civilization was very advanced. Everyone specialized in something. That was the basis of the Jati system, right? Everybody was part of a lineage that was based in a certain occupation, and everybody specialized. So children would initially get basic education in temples, basic stuff like language, grammar, arithmetic, basic history, and so on. And then they would be educated by their own families or clans or jatis, specialized professional education. So I'm sure we would have people who may have been engaged in the profession of psychology, perhaps. That would have been potentially a jati. But, the records are gone. So we can only speculate as of today. So as of today, when it comes to psychology, we have to say it originates in the West. And I'm sure we must have had these things, but can't say for sure because we don't have the records anymore. Hani Sharma says, Sir, since you don't look amused enough, I'm guessing you haven't watched Tumbad yet. I haven't watched it yet. I haven't watched it. I'm grateful that you keep reminding me. I still haven't watched it. I'll try and find time for it in this coming week. Tumbad. I think it's not a very long movie, right? About 1.5 hours, 2 hours maybe. I'll try and watch it. Thank you for the reminder, sir. Thank you. Bhaskar Bandit says, Sir, why military powers have their eyes on Antarctica? It's all ice today. Maybe it was different before. Yeah, it was different before. What's the geostrategic significance? Also, the stories about Operation High Jump. Okay, what is Operation High Jump? I'm not sure. Sounds vaguely familiar, but yeah, Operation High Jump. High Jump. What is that? US Navy Antarctic Developments Program 1946 to 47. What was it? What was special about it? Deployed over 4,000 men and 13 naval ships to test the ability of military operations in the polar environment. Established a functional base at Little America 4 and learned some of the shortcomings of heavy ground-based equipment on snow and ice. Okay, so it's some kind of military expedition in Antarctica, short-lived, 47, 48, that sort of thing. Yeah, so I haven't studied Operation High Jump, so that's all I can say. Now, why do most major powers have their eyes on Antarctica? Obviously, it's all eyes today. I mean, if you look at if you go to the map, you will see that the maps won't even show you the features, the geographical features on Antarctica. Here's the map. We go straight south from India. Here we have Antarctica. If we look at satellite images, well, it's all just white. It'll show you some features in some part of the continent, as you can see a little bit here, but the rest of it is just white, and maybe it's deliberately blanked out. Some coastal regions, you can see some features, some terrain features, even not a lot, right? I mean, if I zoom in here, I don't think it's showing me actual images. Is it? Looks like it's showing some kind of images, but you never know. So the thing is, the deal with Antarctica is that it's a massive continent. The South Pole is located in Antarctica. It's massive, and there was a time when Antarctica was green. Okay, a long time ago. There was a time when it was green, and it was not located all the way down south where it is today. There used to be this supercontinent called Pangaea, and Antarctica was very much part of that. And there were forests and animals and whatnot on Antarctica back in the day, like millions of years ago. So what's the deal with Antarctica? What's the geostrategic significance? First of all, Antarctica most likely has a lot of natural resources, oil and gas, various minerals, possibly metal, iron ore, and maybe other things, maybe bauxite. So various kinds of natural resources are found in Antarctica. I'm sure the Americans and others have done some digging, some searching, some research, and I'm pretty sure Antarctica is rich in natural resources. So that's one significance. The other significance is that it's an empty continent, and whoever controls that controls one more chunk of the world. Obviously, it's very hard to live there. The temperatures are frighteningly cold, like minus God knows what, minus 50, perhaps maybe below that as well. So it's very cold, of course. But if you have technology, I mean, you can definitely have bases there and have people survive there. India also has a couple of research stations there on Antarctica. So what's the significance? The significance is that it is rich in natural resources, and it's empty territory that obviously is it's lucrative for any major power. Hani Sharma says, what killed Bob Woolmer? Was it his upcoming book about spot fixing? Was it Jamaat? Or simply he knew too much about Pakistani fixing scandal? Bob Woolmer was this cricketer, wasn't he? English cricketer who was the coach of the Pakistan cricket team. Was it the coach of Sri Lanka? No, that was Dav Watmore, wasn't he? Okay, so Bob Woolmer was a former cricketer who was the coach of the Pakistan cricket team, and he was found dead under very strange, suspicious circumstances. I think in 1999, was it? Right after Pakistan lost a match to Bangladesh. That's what I recall about him. I think he was a left-handed batsman and something. Let's try and. Oops, what is that? Give me a second. Let's try and find out details about Bob Woolmer. So, what's up with the search? Search is lagging. Okay, 2007, not 99, 2007. So, English cricket coach, cricketer, commentator. Okay, the 2007 World Cup in the West Indies. The Pakistanis lost to Ireland, not Bangladesh. They lost to Ireland, and he died a few hours after that. And he played cricket for whom? Playing career, he played cricket for England. Okay. Yeah, okay, so he was a all-rounder, okay. And he died in 2007. And the circumstances of his death seem to be suspicious, but maybe it's kind of been brushed under the carpet, perhaps. I'm not sure. Peter Roebuck also died under strange circumstances. That's another suspicious and strange death in cricket. Peter Roebuck, who was an English county cricketer and then he moved to Australia. He was a phenomenal writer, cricket journalist, and then yeah. So the question Hani Sharma is asking is, what killed Bob Woolmer? Not sure. See, the Pakistanis lost to Ireland, which is so strange. Pakistan has this strange habit of losing unexpectedly to teams that they would typically not lose to. So in 2007, Pakistan was a pretty strong team. See, today's Pakistan, it's not a great team, right? I mean, they regularly lose to India and they're no longer a top team. But back in the day, Pakistan were one of the top teams in the world. When you had people like Wasim Akram, Waqar Yunus, Imran Khan, Inzamam, Javed Miandad, and so on, it was a top team. There was a time when India could not defeat Pakistan. In World Cups, we always did, but otherwise, India could not defeat Pakistan. India was like that. And today, it's the other way around. So, but Pakistan obviously has this great tradition, this glorious tradition of match fixing. And, Salim Malik has been banned for life for match fixing. Wasim Akram was implicated, but it looks like he has been able to escape that. So Salim Malik was definitely implicated. A number of Indians were also implicated. Yeah, so we'll not discuss that here. And who's that guy? Mohammed Amir was found guilty of spot fixing. He's bowling no balls like 3 meters ahead of the crease and of the line, that sort of thing. So Pakistan has this great tradition of match fixing, spot fixing, whatever. And it's possible the Pakistanis were doing that in the 2007 World Cup as well. And the speculation is that maybe Bob Woolmer discovered some of this and was about to reveal that, disclose what he had discovered. Maybe that's why he was taken care of. So it's all speculation. The official, I don't know what the official narrative is, but it looks like it's no longer under investigation, Bob Woolmer's death. But it was very strange that he would just die like that. Yeah. Bhaskar Bandit says, Shri Genghis Temujin Khan's empire was 5 times larger than Alexander the Barbarian. But why Mongolia did not industrialize or accumulate wealth within Mongolia? Today, geopolitically, they are not big. Why did Mongolia not industrialize and not accumulate wealth within Mongolia? That's a great question. Looks like Genghis Khan's philosophy was not that of extraction, like what you see with the Western colonial powers in the past 500 years. So even when India would expand, for example, let's take just one data point, which is the Chola conquest of Srivijaya of Indonesia. So about 1,000 years before today, roughly, Rajendra Chola decided to go and invade Indonesia, right? Srivijaya, the Srivijaya Empire. And he crosses the Bay of Bengal, the Kalinga Mahasagar. He goes all the way to Indonesia, conquers Indonesia, and vassalizes the whole of Indonesia. But he did not go and extract anything out of Indonesia. He did not plunder Indonesia and take away their wealth and enslave them and extract their resources, right? No such thing. That did not happen. So what Rajendra Chola did was simply effect a regime change and come back home. He did not extract any wealth. He did not plunder the place. Similarly, Genghis Khan did not have a policy of extraction and plunder. His policy was that of, well, because of various reasons. Eventually, what ended up is that he ended up doing was expanding his empire significantly, hugely, right? Khwarazm and whatnot. Karakhitai, Khwarazm, China, and so much more. So he expanded his empire, but he did not extract any wealth out of the places he conquered. So I think it's a cultural thing that, you don't steal. So that's why you will see that Mongolia never accumulated wealth. I suppose Genghis Khan believed that his wealth was his people. Yeah, pretty idealistic way of looking at things. But yeah, Mongolia never extracted wealth. Why did Mongolia not industrialize? Well, I suppose Mongolia never saw the need to industrialize. The Mongols were simple people. They still are, right? Their entire philosophy, their entire lifestyle was nomadic. And they did not see the need to create big industries and extract things out, resources out of the bowels of the earth, and create mega cities and mega industries and whatnot, right? They never saw the need to do that. They said, let's you know live in an orderly fashion. So if my empire has China, it has Khwarezm, and the Chinese way of life is different from the Khwarezmian way of life, which is different from other parts of the empire. Let them all have their way of life, but I will interconnect everything and create one system for my entire empire. But I want extract wealth, I want plunder, I want industrialize. There's no need for that. Everyone's living happily, peacefully. Everyone's happy as they are. Everyone's wealthy as they are. Nobody desires accumulation of wealth. So let's not do that, right? So it's a philosophical thing. It's a cultural thing. It's a civilizational thing. The Eastern cultures never were such that they wanted to hoard all the wealth of the world in one place, extract everything out of other places, and hoard all the wealth for themselves. It was never that way, and that's why Genghis Khan did not do that. Bhaskar Bandit says, how absurd or naive is it to think that $1 will be equal to 3 Indian rupees by 2029? I am not sure who would imagine that this will happen. Look, anything is possible, but what's the mechanism by which this happens? So has somebody given this sort of deadline, or this sort of, have somebody made this sort of prediction that $1 will be equal to 3 Indian rupees by 2029? And by what mechanism have they proposed that this will happen? I don't know. I think it's a really far-fetched thing. If it happens, I'll be very pleased. But will it be great for India? Will it be bad for India? There's a lot of factors that go into these things, right? If the Indian rupee appreciates in value, then it's a problem for it's a problem for exporters, isn't it? So yeah, I'm not sure if you want to become an export-oriented economy, for example, then I don't think it's great for the Indian rupee to appreciate significantly. So yeah, I don't know. There are all kinds of people who make all kinds of such claims. Yeah, you decide whether you believe or not. Hani Sharma says, Ishan Kishan, take a bow. What an innings. What are my thoughts? Well, outstanding innings. So, Ishan Kishan was out of the Indian team for a while, wasn't he? For some reasons. I don't know. The BCCI had kept him out of Indian cricket for a while. Was it disciplinary reasons? Was it some other reasons? I'm not sure. But he's back, and it seems to be in the form of his life, clearly, Ishan Kishan. And maybe the break has done some good to him. Maybe it's given him more hunger, more of a desire to prove himself and to prove his doubters wrong. And that's a great fuel for an athlete. The desire to prove everyone wrong. Those who wrote you off. So clearly, he seems to be in tremendous touch right now, tremendous form, and he should keep going. His innings yesterday I've seen the highlights. It was pretty power-packed. He should have gone on actually to at least triple figures, but okay, not bad. So overall, great innings. Hari Sharma says, you talked about why India should not allow dual citizenship, but I really couldn't understand it. Would you be kind enough to explain to us one more time, maybe with an example? Sorry. No issues. So, why should India not allow dual citizenship? So let's understand what citizenship means. If you're a citizen, you have certain privileges that a non-citizen doesn't have. You have the right to vote. You have the right to acquire property. You have the right to own the majority share of a company. You have all kinds of privileges as a citizen that non-citizens don't have. If you're a citizen, you can even become prime minister. You can even become a minister, a cabinet minister. You can become the head of the RBI, right? So we've had Raghuram Rajan was a US citizen, right? When he was the head of the RBI. I'm not sure how that works, but okay. So there's a lot of privileges that citizens have that non-citizens don't have. Now, let's say India allows dual citizenship, India-US. That means that technically a US citizen can potentially become the Prime Minister of India. Technically, hypothetically, it's possible. Is that good for India's national interest that a person who is India's prime minister holds foreign citizenship, which means has at least 50% allegiance to a foreign nation? Is that good for your national interest? And understand this, when it comes to the India US relationship, it's not a symmetric relationship, it's an asymmetric relationship. There's a massive power asymmetry. The US is about 20 to 25 times more powerful than India. So if you are a citizen of both countries simultaneously, the US can ensure that you have way more allegiance to them than to India. They can engineer that through a variety of means, right? So if that is the situation, that India allows dual citizenship with, let's say, the US, then the US is a past master at playing certain games. They can engineer the rise of certain people within India who are dual citizens and who will then take over power in India. And by doing that, the US can remote control the future, the fate of India. Is that a good idea? I'm just taking the example of the US. It could be some other nation too. So why does the US allow this? Because the US is the most powerful nation in the world. And whenever they have citizens who are dual citizens, they will ensure that the cards are stacked in such a manner that these dual citizens can't do any harm to the US, and they typically will have more allegiance to the US, except for maybe one or two countries which we will not discuss here. Okay. So these are some of the issues, right, with dual citizenship. The US will ensure that nobody can harm their interests. But India, we are more compromised. So we have to be more careful. Bhaskar Bandit says, how to be like Abhijit Chad Chavda in real life. Thank you, sir, for all you do. Endless gratitude and support. You inspire us and make all of us to be better every day. Love you and Jay Bharatam. Thank you so much for your very kind words. How to be like me in real life? Well, I would say, why do you have to be like me? Be yourself. Be the best version of yourself. That's what I would say. Everyone's different. Everyone's unique. Be the best version of yourself. Understand who you truly are. Take the time to understand yourself. Understand your true nature, your true characteristics. Understand why you were put on this planet. What was the purpose of your existence, right? Most of us, as we go along, we kind of forget who we are and why we are here. Most of us never figure out why we are here. What is the purpose of this specific lifetime, this specific life that we have? And who actually are we? Most human beings don't even ever in their entire life truly figure out who they really are. So I would say, figure out who you are, figure out your purpose in life, and try and strive to be the best version of yourself. That's what I would say. Don't try to emulate other people. And if you want to emulate, well, find out what is it that you admire in a certain person. Because in every person, every person has a combination of good traits and not so good traits, strengths and weaknesses. So I would say, make a list of the top 5 people you admire, or maybe top 10 persons you admire in the world, and make a list of the characteristics and traits of each of those people that you admire. That will tell you what is it that you are drawn to, attracted to, and what you really value in human beings. And then try to inculcate those traits in yourself. That's what I would say. Right? So that is my actual advice to you. Don't try to emulate one person completely. How to be like me in real life? I don't know. I just be myself. All I do is try to be who I am. I too have to improve a lot in a variety of ways. So yeah, be yourself. That's what I would say. All the best, and thank you so much, sir. Agam Senpai says, I just came back from South Korea. In reality, most people look very pale, lighter than Southern Europeans, who look more yellow or olive golden. Why called yellow? So the Asiatic race, right? It's called the yellow race or something. I don't know why Eastern Asian people are called yellow in the West. It's one of those old racial stereotypes from the 19th century, I suppose, 18th or 19th century. Maybe these, see, even if you look at the Native Americans, they are called Red Indians. I mean, if you look at Native Americans, they are not red, they're brown, right? Native Americans in the US, in North America, or in South America or Central America, they're brown. Native Americans in the far north of North America are typically paler skinned, and when they are exposed to the sun, their skin becomes reddish. So maybe that's why the Plains Indians or whatever, they were called red Indians, but they are actually brown people. They're not white or they aren't red. Similarly, when it comes to various Eastern Asian people, the Koreans are pretty pale skinned. The Japanese are also pretty pale skinned. The Chinese, well, their skin tone varies, and not exactly white, uh, but some other tone, I would say. Is that what they call yellow? I'm not sure why it's called yellow. Look, I've never seen a yellow person in my life. Okay, only the Simpsons look yellow. The cartoon series, I haven't seen a yellow person in my entire life. Oh my god, this person is yellow. I've never seen the person who looks like that. So I have no idea why the Europeans called the Eastern Asian people yellow. Uh, I suppose it's one of those racist stereotypes. Mac4J1U says, your view on Chinese education, any lessons for us? Chinese education is brilliant. China probably has the best education system in the world today. Probably, right? And if you want to know my views on Chinese education, once again, I will direct you to my old live streams in which I have discussed this in detail. So let me find that, and I will give you the pointers. So if you go to my channel, okay, my channel is on the screen right now. If you go to the live tab, right now episode 331 is live, but let's go to the oldest, okay, and these are the old episodes. And if you go to episode 28, 30, and 31, that's where I discuss education. And I think it's in episode 30 that I discuss the Chinese education system and all the strides they have taken and how they have systematically, step by step, reformed their education system. It's I mean, you really have to appreciate what China has achieved with their education system. Tremendous work they've done. They probably have the best education system in the world today. And in 1980, they had one of the worst systems in the world. Yeah. Probably the Indian education system was better than the Chinese system around 1980-85, maybe in 1985. But from the late 1980s onwards, the Chinese started systematically reforming their education system, step by step by step. So let's say it's 86 to 96, 2006, 2016, 2019. That's 40 years. In 40 years, they've taken one of the worst education systems in the world and transformed it into the best education system. Step by step. They've gone step by step in doing that. And there's so many things they've done to make this happen. So I can't explain all of that to you right now over here. It'll take a long time to explain. Check out those 3 episodes, especially episode 30, in which I have explained in detail. So lessons for us? Yes. A lot of lessons for us. Watch those episodes, you will know. Rishi Barot says, how are almost all Chinese Communist Party leaders aligned towards their national interest and not corrupted by power? Has there been a case otherwise? Thank you. Are all Chinese Communist Party leaders aligned with their national interest? See, one of the factors you have in China, the Chinese Communist Party, is that it is permanently in power. Okay, there's no democracy there. There's no, the country is not hostage to votes. And the Chinese Communist Party decides the long-term future of China. They have this 5-year plans, 10-year plans, 5-year plans, and they know what direction they want the country to go in. They have a vision for China in 2049. They have a vision for China where China needs to be by 2100. And because the Chinese Communist Party is permanently in power, they can work towards that long term. In India, we have this 5-year election cycle where every 5 years you don't know what's going to happen to the country. If the government changes, if the people vote in a new government, policies can take a U-turn, right? And everything that was done in the past can be completely undone in a few months. So in the Chinese Communist Party, it's not like that. Now the Chinese Communist Party has this social contract with the people of China. The contract is that we will rule over you as dictators, and you will allow this because we will give you the best living standards in the world. We will improve your living standards and we will make China a great country. So we will give you this. and in return, you will allow us to keep ruling as dictators. That's the social contract the Chinese Communist Party has with the people of China. So for this to happen, every action has to be aligned with the national interest. Otherwise, you break the social contract. And obviously, there's been corruption in China, and there have been high-ranking leaders who have been executed for corruption. There are people who are jailed for corruption. Corruption in any society, you're going to have some corruption. But in China, at least, there's a egregious corruption is punished very harshly, and non-egregious corruption is perhaps tolerated to a certain extent, as long as it does not come in the way of the national interest. So what kind of corruption may you have in China? Let's say you are a wealthy person who wants to set up a new industry. Okay, and the process is taking time. So maybe you put some money below the table, and the process gets shortened. So maybe, hypothetical example, maybe if the approvals may have taken 2 months, maybe they'll now take 5 days or maybe 2 days. So that actually helps the Chinese national interest. You see, so that sort of corruption is tolerated. And when it comes to corruption being corrupted by power, well, I'm sure every leader has this. Every leader, depending on the person and their psychological profile, everybody will be affected by power in some way or the other. But there's the system of checks and balances in China, which ensures that no leader becomes too big, and if a leader becomes too big, they're taken care of. So it's a pretty complex system. It's a very, very competitive system. The political system in China is a dog eats dog world. Only the toughest and the most capable rise to the very top. So the system is such that the right people rise to the top. Otherwise, they'll be eaten up somewhere on the way. So that's how China is, and that's why China is able to do things that, well, India lags behind in very badly. Rohan Bidi says, origins of India-Russia friendly relationship. India and Russia. Well, India and Russia have had relations for centuries, actually. So the origins of Russia go back about 1,000 years with the Kievan Rus people. Okay. The first capital of the Rus people was Kiev, which is now the capital of Ukraine. And then I'm giving you a very fast speed run of history here. And then for a couple of 100 years, Russia was under the Mongol yoke. For a couple of 100 years, Russia was ruled by the Mongols. Then the Mongols eventually became weaker, as every empire does, and Russia became free again. And then instead of having the capital in Kiev, you had the rise of the Duchy of Muscovy. And Moscow became the new center of power. And then you had various kings and rulers and eventually tsars, right? And during these times, you had Indian merchants who would go and trade with Central Asia and Russia. So for centuries, Indians were trading with the Rus people, Indian traders, Central Asia, etc. You even find there's this, there was this Lakshmi statue or Vishnu statue that was found in Russia. Let's look into that, right? Vishnu statue, Russia. So where was it discovered? Why is search so slow? Why is it lagging today? Anyhow, an ancient Vishnu idol estimated to date to the 7th or 10th centuries AD was discovered in the Staraya Maina village of Russia's Volga region. So, Volga region. So this is what the Murti looks like. So my point is, there were these ancient ties between Russia and India, mainly trading ties and all. You had Indian priests Indian merchants who would go and trade with Russia, who would live in Russia. They would do their Hindu rituals of bathing in rivers and all in the Volga River, the freezing Volga River and all that. So we have these ancient ties with Russia. And then in the 20th century, after the transfer of power in 1947, Shri Nehruji was very friendly with Russia. He was very impressed with Russian socialism. So he went ahead and developed strong relations with Russia. And that's kind of the origin or the continuation of the India-Russia relationship. And that continued even after the sad demise of Shri Nehruji. Rahul Mishra. Rahul Mishra has no question, but thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much indeed. Rahul Mishra says, can you tell more about the Baghor stone shrine, please? Baghor stone shrine. I am not aware of this. Let's Google it together. I am not aware of this. Baghor stone shrine. What is this? Okay. The Baghor, one Paleolithic shrine located in the Son Valley of Madhya Pradesh, dates back to about 9,000 to 8,000 BC, which is about 11,000 years before today. Excavated in 1982, circular platform with a centrally placed triangular stone, concentric laminations. It's a shrine of a goddess. Okay. The central stone is naturally formed triangular piece of sandstone with concentric reddish brown and yellowish red laminations. Early evidence of Shakti worship. The stone is a yantra. Right, all right. So what's it look like? Let's see. So Baghor stone. Okay. So this is apparently how it was discovered. One of the oldest evidences of Shaktism, Shakti worship, goddess worship. That's I just read it out. I have heard of it, but I have never had the time to look into it. That's what I can tell you. That tells you, my friends. That's what this is another example that tells you how ancient our civilization is. If it's from 9,000 BC, that's 11,000 years before today. The oldest Saraswati Sindhu archaeological site is Bhirana in Haryana, which dates back to about 7,500 BC, which is about 9,500 years before today. Then you have another archaeological site in Ladakh, which is about 11,000 years old. Then you have the Baghor stone shrine temple, which is also about 11,000 years old. The more we look into our ancient past archaeologically, the older we're going to find that our civilization gets because of new evidence that emerges. So it tells you, and this is an example of goddess worship, Shakti worship, right? People still worship Shakti today. 11,000 years we've been doing that. Yeah. So that tells you how ancient our civilization is. Adi Pradhan says, alternative education in India, current education is dumb. Current education is rotten. It is rotten to the core. Yeah, the current education system. What about alternative education in India? Well, one thing people can do is homeschooling, right? Don't send your kids to schools. Have them schooled at home. Maybe parents can do it themselves if they have the time, or they can hire tutors who can do it if the tutors are good. And you have these. There are these boards, right? Open schooling boards. 10th standard, 12th standard in National Institute of Open Schooling and all that you can do. So you can get your 10th and 12th standard degrees even if the kids are homeschooled, right? And you can use whatever curriculum or syllabus you want for homeschooling, and you can inculcate the right ideals, the ability to think critically, the right knowledge, the right information, the right thought patterns, the right analytical patterns in kids, scientific thinking, thinking from first principles, all of that. And so that's definitely possible. Apart from that, there is the Gurukul system that some places, in some places, some parts of India, we have Gurukuls, revival of Gurukuls. That also is another option. So we have some options like that, but at the end of the day, you still need degrees, because without degrees, you will not get a job. So whatever happens at the end of the day, you still need these pieces of paper, which means you have to somehow reinsert yourself into the education system and get those damn degrees, and then go through the grind of getting into the job market and becoming another corporate drone, I suppose. Ranveer Rathore says, what was the Wagner coup 2023? Any strains between Russia and China? The Wagner coup, well, I have discussed that live. The Wagner coup. The Wagner coup, right? There was there is, see, during, first of all, let me see my old live streams where I may have discussed the Wagner coup. Give me a second. Once again, let's go to my channel. Okay. And okay, let's discuss, let's see where we can discover the Wagner coup. So there's a lot of history here. I've done more than 300 live streams, but we're going to have to go further down, further down, further down, further down. Okay, give me a second. So many live streams I've done, haven't I? So, do we have something with Wagner? 2023. 2023. Wagner. I'm sure I did live streams around that time when the Wagner incident happened. When was the first live stream after the Russia-Ukraine war? It was 97, 98, around that. Yeah, 91. No, 89 was when the Ukraine invasion started. And then eventually 23, we had the Wagner coup. So the question you're asking is, what was this Wagner coup, right? What was his name? The guy who died in the plane crash? What was his name? Definitely not Prigozhin. Wagner Group former leader Yevgeny. Let's see. Yeah, Yevgeny Prigozhin, right? Yevgeny Prigozhin. He died in a plane crash in August 2023, and he led this this coup, attempted coup, in 2023. So the coup was, he entered. It was about the an attempt to perhaps take over Moscow or something, right? So let's see how it happened, if I recall correctly. So the Wagner Group was obviously involved in fighting in Ukraine, right? And they re-entered Russia around Rostov-on-Don, and then made a move on Moscow. On Moscow, they went north towards Moscow, and somewhere along the way they were stopped, and eventually, later on, Yevgeny Prigozhin died in a plane crash. That is what happened. Now, the details, obviously, you can look up. That's what it was. It was an attempt by Yevgeny Prigozhin to maybe oust Putin. Didn't work out, obviously. Pradeep Kumar Roy says about Baal statue burning in Iran. There was also a pillar Asherah which they burned. She was the wife of Baal. I researched the internet and found out about Anath, Baal's sister, and others. The thing about this name, Baal means, Baal meant Lord in the which Sumerian or Mesopotamian language, whichever language it was. So it's not like Baal is one god. There were multiple gods who all had the title of Baal, like Lord Shiva, Lord Ganesh, Lord Vishnu, Lord Brahma, Lord, right? In English we say Lord. So Baal means Lord or Master. And there were multiple gods with the title of Baal, like Baal Hammon, Baal something else, Baal Moloch, I suppose. So if you look here, Baal Hammon. Baal Hammon was the supreme deity of the ancient Carthaginian religion. And then you have another Baal Hadad. Baal Hadad was a West Semitic deity of storms, thunder, rain, fertility, etc. Baal. So once again, this is another god with the title of Baal. Now, the Baal statue burning in Iran probably is probably Hammon, but this is a Carthaginian god, right? Not. What about Baal Moloch? Moloch and Baal are Canaanite, blah 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 blah. Malak, king, Boshet. So it's kind of hazy, it's kind of murky. I can't tell you for sure which Baal is which, but when it comes to the vilification of Baal, in the Hebrew Bible, one of the Baal gods is mentioned as a god that demands child sacrifice. And there was this place near Jerusalem, near Yerushalayim, back in the past, where you had this group of people, this culture, where they allegedly passed young children through fire to make their Baal god happy. And this Baal god was called Moloch. Now, who was Moloch is a big question. Maybe Moloch is an entity, and we, Moloch may be a title or a code word given to a god who they don't want to name, perhaps. Is Moloch actually Yahweh? Is Moloch some other god? We're not sure. So Baal is not one god. There are multiple Baal gods, and many of these Baal gods, it looks like there was child sacrifice offered to them. And the wife of Baal, there was a pillar with the word Asherah, Anath. Okay, what is Asherah? Let's find out. Who was Asherah? Asherah was a major ancient West Semitic mother goddess, consort to the supreme god El, also called Baal in Canaanite, Phoenician, etc., etc., etc. Asherah. And who is Anath? Anath. Prominent Northwest Semitic goddess of war, hunting, fertility, etc., etc. Sister to the storm god Baal. Okay, why does she wear a sari, I wonder? Okay, so right, so that's what I can tell you about Baal. When they say Baal, they sometimes mean one of the Baal gods. Which one, I'm not 100% sure. And I heard about this news of the burning of a statue of one of the Baal gods in Iran. Yeah, all right. Amisha says, have you heard of Jack the Ripper, the serial killer? Very famous, or rather infamous, very notorious serial killer in 19th century London, right? 1880s, 1890s, around that time. And which part of London? I forget the name of that part of London. Today, apparently, it's dominated by Bangladeshis. So that area of London where this serial killer operated, today that area of London is populated by mostly Bangladeshis, apparently. Let's look it up, shall we? So first of all, Jack the Ripper, right? And his identity has never been actually confirmed. Jack the Ripper. Whitechapel. So 1888. That's when he did these murders. He murdered some women, apparently prostitutes or something, and Whitechapel district. So today it's full of Bangladeshis apparently. 56% of Whitechapel residents identify as Asian. I suppose they would all be majority Bangladeshis. It has, yeah, all that. But going back to this guy, so he has never been identified. There have been various suspects that have been presented, but the identity of the serial killer Jack the Ripper has never been identified for sure. There are some people who were prime suspects when it comes to the London police, but nobody was arrested, nobody was prosecuted, nobody was punished for this. And even today, it's kind of an open area of research, and people are still kind of obsessed with Jack the Ripper even today. Pradeep Kumar Roy says, so these were the original pagan gods of Israel. Now I somewhat understand the fight between this and the Abrahamics spearheaded by Freemasons. The ancient original pagan gods of Israel. So Judaism was originally a polytheistic religion, and later Yahweh became the primary and eventually the sole god, the only god of the Israelites. So let's see this. Judaism, polytheistic originally. Let's see, was Judaism originally polytheistic? Yeah. So Judaism or Proto-Judaism evolved from polytheistic Canaanite roots. The Canaanites, yes. Transitioning through monolatry to strict monotheism over centuries. Originally, Yahweh was part of a pantheon headed by El, alongside other deities like Asherah and Baal, and eventually became exclusively worshipped around the Babylonian exile. So Judaism originally, or the roots of Judaism, were polytheistic, but eventually Yahweh became the only God. So you had pre-Abrahamic gods in Israel, multiple gods, goddesses, and all of that, and then Yahweh becomes the sole God. Once Judaism becomes monotheistic, and yeah, I'm not sure about the Freemasons. I've never really studied the Freemasons, what their agenda is, what their purpose is, and what connections they may or may not have with Judaism or Abrahamic religions. I'm not really sure about that. Rohan says, why did Jainism never grow as much as Buddhism? See, why did Buddhism become such a big phenomenon is the big question, right, over here. Why did Buddhism, Bauddha Dharma, become such a big phenomenon? It was an obscure fringe path of Dharma. We had all these dharmic paths, right? All kinds of spiritual leaders, philosophical leaders, philosophers, etc., who had various conceptions of what the universe is like, and they had their um, own philosophies which were part of the dharmic umbrella. So many of these came and went. Many of these are probably lost. So Buddhism was one of these. Bauddha Dharma. Gautam Buddha was a religious leader who was active in northern eastern India, Sarnath and so on. And during his lifetime, Buddhism was never a big thing. It was pretty obscure. And then Emperor Ashok, for political reasons, makes Buddhism mainstream. So before Emperor Ashok makes Buddhism mainstream, nobody in the subcontinent, almost nobody in the subcontinent knew about Bauddha Dharma. Nobody knew about this. And then because of imperial patronage, Buddhism explodes in popularity. And that's how it suddenly goes all over the subcontinent and eventually beyond the subcontinent. See, for any religion to thrive, or any religious path to thrive, you need funding, you need patronage, you need a champion. And when the emperor himself is the champion, well, the path is free for you, right? So it is Ashok who artificially transformed Buddhism from an obscure dharmic path into a global phenomenon. He did this for political reasons, Ashok. For when it comes to Jainism, Jaina Dharma, Jain Dharma never had this sort of imperial patronage. Of course, you have one of the descendants of Ashok. Who was it? Who built lots and lots of Jain monasteries? Okay, let's see. Okay, Ashoka the Great. Let's see his descendants. Let me tell you, one of his descendants, maybe great grandson or something. Mahendra Sanghamitra, Kunal was blinded, wasn't he? Diana's the father. Successor Samprati, Samprati Maurya, the grandson of Ashok. He, according to Jain tradition, he built 150,000 Jain derasars and made 15 million Jain murtis, idols. He had taken an oath to dig the new foundation of a new Jinale every day. And that sort of thing. This is what Wikipedia says. As always, statutory warning: Wikipedia is not necessarily a reliable source of information. I just use it for, so that because it's quick. But don't always rely on Wikipedia. Be very careful with it. The point is, we had Samprati Maurya, who was a big patron of Jainism, right? And Ashok was a great patron of Buddhism. But Samprati wasn't as powerful and as influential as Ashok. So you had times in India where Jainism was a big deal. In South India, for a time in Karnataka, etc., Jainism was a very big deal. So these waves, ups and downs, come and go. VS says, if Epstein files caused so much controversy and havoc, I wonder what would happen if they release all the JFK files. What's your take on this? They won't release all the JFK files. Yeah, if they release the JFK files and we truly find out what happened, it will be a massive, massive controversy. And even today, it will be very controversial, and it will possibly show various US institutions in a certain light that they don't want to be seen in. Right? See, it's very clear that what the official narrative about the JFK assassination is false. It's a lie. There is the Warren Commission report, right? Warren Commission. Let's see. Warren Commission. The Warren Commission. Come on. Why is Google lagging? The Warren Commission investigated the assassination of President JFK. It concluded that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone and Jack Ruby acted alone. Okay, the Warren Commission. So, according to the Warren Commission, okay, what's his name? Lee Harvey Oswald, the guy who said, I'm a patsy, that guy, he acted alone. He was on top of a tall building, maybe 10th, 11th, or whatever floor. He had one rifle with him, a single rifle with a scope, and he shot JFK from behind. That's what the Warren Commission says. That Lee Harvey Oswald shot JFK from behind. Means the bullet came from behind his head. It hit him behind, in the back of the skull. If you watch the Zapruder video, which is the video in which JFK is shown to be assassinated, you can see that the killing shot comes from the front. His head is snapped back like that. His head is snapped backwards, not front. If the bullet hits from the back, the head will be snapped forwards. Because a bullet it may be a small object, but it has a tremendous amount of velocity and momentum. And it's going to snap a person's head forward or backward, depending on what side of the head it's from. So it's very clear that John F. Kennedy's head snaps backward like that. So the killing shot came from the front, the one that blew his head up. And yet the Warren Commission says that there was only one guy who shot the president, and the killing shot came from behind, which is obviously such an obvious lie. So if the JFK files are released, it's going to cause a political earthquake in the US. Yeah, the US still won't be able to take it even now, decades later. Pradeep Kumar Roy says, I recently found out about the blood-curdling oaths of the Freemasons. Also, there is a Freemason symbol in my engineering degree certificate. All right. What is the Freemason symbol? Shall we find out? Freemason symbol. It's some geometrical thing, right? Ruler and something like that. Freemason symbol. Okay. The square and compasses, right? Square and compasses. This thing here. Okay. I am not aware of the blood-curdling oaths of the Freemasons because I have not studied their history and their whatever. So I don't know about that. But if you have a Freemason symbol in your engineering degree certificate, it may or may not be a coincidence. Maybe it's a coincidence because those are square and ruler. It's kind of square and compass. It's kind of something that you associate with the engineering anyway, right? Maybe it's just a coincidence. Jagjit Midda says, gold and silver, history and future value, replaceable. See, gold and silver have historically been stores of value. Why is gold a store of value? Why is silver a store of value? Gold is a reliable store of value because gold is rare. It's a rare element. You don't have tons of gold lying around on the planet, right? There's only a finite amount of gold that can be extracted from our planet. And it's very rare. So that's why gold is that's why a historically reliable store of value. Even silver is a metal. It's pretty rare. It's more commonly available than gold. I mean, back in the day, people used to have silver plates and silver cutlery in India. It was very common. But still, silver is still a precious metal. And there was a time when the Indian currency was backed by silver, not by gold. But historically, gold is the real store of value when it comes to monetary wealth. So that's, in brief, the history of gold. The reason why it's so valuable is because it's so rare. And you can't produce gold out of thin air. You can print paper notes, paper currency out of thin air. You can print it. Paper can be printed, paper currency. But you can't print gold, right? That's why gold is so much in demand. That's why people buy gold. So gold is a reliable store of value. Is gold replaceable? It's not replaceable. Unless we can go and start mining asteroids and bring millions of tons of gold back to Earth. In that case, the value of gold will go down. It will devalue, right? But that's not going to happen anytime soon, at least the next century or two, right? Because mining an asteroid it's obviously, it doesn't break the laws of physics. It's possible, but it's a monumental, almost impossible task. Because you're going to have to go and look at lots of asteroids and discover gold somewhere, and then mine that and bring it back to Earth. Very, very difficult. Almost impossible with today's technology. Impossible. So gold is not replaceable. Neither is silver, actually. But gold obviously is more valuable. Even copper is becoming valuable actually now. Yeah. Golden Bird says, what if pharma companies are already spying on North Sentinel Island with biometric drones, animals, and collecting human waste for their research? Well, what if? I am not aware of any such thing. It is the government of India's responsibility to ensure no such thing happens. North Sentinel Island is, you could say, a protectorate of India. It is part of Indian territory. It is part of India. But the way we have positioned it is as a protectorate of India. So we have essentially given it de facto sovereignty. The people of North Sentinel Island have their own culture, their own language, their own way of life. And the government of India has decided we will not interfere in their affairs. We will not impose Indian laws, Indian constitution, Indian reservations, etc. on the people of North Sentinel Island, Indian judiciary, Indian police, Indian whatever. Let them live their life the way they have been living for tens of thousands of years. And we will ensure that nobody interferes in their internal affairs. So we are going to protect them and we will not interfere. Which means that if we have decided upon this, then we have to protect these people and ensure that nobody is able to interfere in any way. No pharma company, no other nation, no travelers, no vloggers, no YouTubers. Nobody should be allowed to go there. Right? So it's the government of India's responsibility. That's all I can say. Pradeep Kumar Roy says, I recently started watching videos about this Chinese professor Jiang. YouTube channel, Predictive History. Very interesting channel. All right, sir. Thank you for that recommendation. I shall check it out. Jiang. Adish Hirve says, was the Axis defeat inevitable once the US entered the war? Or could different strategic decisions have changed the outcome? Okay. Could different strategic decisions have changed the outcome? So the outcome that we got is that the Allies, led by the US, won, and the Axis, which was mainly Nazi Germany, Imperial Japan, and Fascist Italy, those three together, they lost. That was the deal. That was the outcome. So was this defeat inevitable once the US entered the war? Or could Germany, Japan, Italy, etc. have done something that could have changed the outcome? I think the Axis defeat was not inevitable once the US entered the war. It was the decisions and choices of Nazi Germany, of Adolf Hitler, that led to the defeat of Nazi Germany. See, one of these strategic choices they made was to abandon the attacks on Britain and focus on the USSR. So they made a choice. Okay, so they had this blitzkrieg going on, the blitz on London and the UK, and the UK was under siege. It was under siege. If they had continued that and taken the UK, which they possibly were capable of, then the whole of Europe was under their dominion. And if they had then not attacked the USSR, but consolidated their gains and stopped it over there, then it was very difficult for the US alone, without the UK's help, to, turn the tide. That's one thing. So one really bad choice was abandoning the attack on the UK and turning attention to the USSR. They had this pact with the USSR, right? The Nazis, the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, and they broke it eventually. So then they turned their attention on the USSR. They launched Operation Barbarossa. And there also, instead of going straight for Moscow and effecting a proper regime change and taking out Stalin, the Nazis decided to go south to the Caucasus because there was a lot of oil and gas there. Azerbaijan, Baku, or that region, right? Caucasus region, lots of oil. And made sense from a strategic, from a certain perspective, that you want access to the energy there. But what about Stalin? What about the Soviet regime, right? So if they had focused on straight away going after Moscow and defeating Stalin right away, they could possibly have done that. Yeah. So these choices changed the outcome of the war. So if they had not made those choices, if they had first gone for the UK and taken it, then the US would have found it really, really difficult to defeat Nazi Germany. YT user says, US helps Pakistan and also funds it, with which it launches terror attacks on us. But I don't see Indians boycotting and hating the US. We only boycott countries far smaller than us. Don't you think it's hypocrisy? See, the US is a special nation. It's the most desirable nation in the world for individuals. Everybody wants to go and settle down in the US, right? What do most Indians want for the children? Study hard, beta, get a great degree, then I'll take a big loan of 1 crore or whatever from the bank. I'll say send you to the US to study there. Study very hard, get your degree, get a job there, get a H-1B visa, eventually get a green card, settle down, become a citizen, and that's the path. Right? So when you have this aspiration for the US, with respect to the US, why would you hate the US? Right? And most people aren't aware of the fact that the Pakistani terrorism was funded and financed by the US. So today, Pakistan is not able to launch terror attacks on India mostly. But from the 1980s all the way to the 2000s, all the Pakistani terrorism was essentially funded and financed by the US. But Indians don't realize that. Most Indians don't realize this. And even if they do, then they kind of turn a blind eye to that, because US, best country in the world, number one country, right? Is it hypocrisy? Maybe it's hypocrisy. Call it whatever it is. Prateep Kumar Roy says, Sir, previously you said there are only 4 sovereign nations in the world. Later you added Israel to the list. Why do you think Israel should be on the list? Yes, I had not thought it through properly. If you are a person with a functioning brain, then you will keep on evaluating the way you see the world. And sometimes you'll find that you made an omission somewhere. So you correct that. And if you have said something in public, you correct that in public. There's nothing wrong with saying that, you know what, I missed something in the past. Earlier I said there were only 4. Today I've realized, no, I made a mistake. One more nation exists that should be on the list. So that is called correction. So yes, I initially said there are only 4 sovereign nations: the US, Russia, China, and India. Then I realized, let me think properly. Oh, no. Israel is also independent and completely sovereign. So yes, then I made this amendment, this change, that it's actually 5 sovereign nations. Israel. Why do I think Israel should be on the list? Why do I think Israel is a completely sovereign nation? Because it is. It's the one nation that has a genuinely special relationship with the US, and it has unconditional US support no matter what happens. When you have the unconditional support of the most powerful nation in the world, in a way that the most powerful nation in the world does not interfere in your internal affairs, then you are not just sovereign, you are super sovereign. Yeah. So Panduranga says Vijayanagar Empire significance and downfall. Vijayanagar Empire significance and downfall. I am not an expert on the history of the Vijayanagar Empire, but I will give you a recommendation. Let me give you a recommendation. Okay. If you want to know the history, learn the history of the Vijayanagar Empire in brief, let us go to YouTube. Abhijit Chavda, Sandeep Balakrishna. And not these two, but no. Journey into Vijayanagar. So this is a 48, it's a 15, it's almost a 60-minute video that in which I had a discussion with Sandeep, and in which Sandeep Balakrishna has explained in brief the history of the Vijayanagar Empire. Okay, so yeah, watch this video, and in that video will give you the information that you seek. All right. Bharat SF says, what about medical mafia destroying health of Indians and its cronies like liver doc destroying our faith in traditional systems like Ayurveda and Siddha? I am not, an expert on these matters. I don't know about this. I know there's this guy called Liver Doc on Twitter, and it appears that he's controversial in some way. I have not interacted with him. I have not checked out his timeline in any great detail. So I am not aware of what his stand is. Is he destroying our faith in traditional systems like Ayurveda and Siddha? There are some people who have this crusade, right? This crusade of attacking everything that is traditional in India, attacking it through rationality and modern science and whatnot. So there are these people who have this agenda, this crusade that they are on. I use the crusade word, consciously. So there is that, but I am not aware of this guy. I'm not aware of what his actual, agenda is. Now, medical mafia destroying the health of Indians. Once again, I am not an expert on these matters. I have not studied this. I've not looked into this in detail. What I can tell you, indeed, in the high level, is that India's medical system is a business. Healthcare has become a business in India, just like education. Education is a business. It's where people can make huge amounts of money, and healthcare is a business. So if someone is sick, that person is a valuable resource to the medical industry because you can extract money out of that person. So it should not be like that. I've said this in the past, and it's kind of controversial, but my opinion is that in a civilized society, the government should extract taxes from the people, yes. But in return, the government should give the people totally free healthcare and totally free education. As it used to be in India, when India used to be civilized. So take taxes from the people, sure. Make the people pay taxes. But give them free healthcare and free education. That's what a civilized society is like. We are no longer a proper civilized society, unfortunately. I mean, if you turn healthcare and education into businesses, then you are ruining the future of your civilization. So yeah. Pradeep Kumar Roy says, I discovered recently about early Freemasons had all the knowledge about architecture, engineering, science. After European Renaissance, they were responsible for the scientific developments in Europe. Sir, are you Freemason? I am the last person who will be a Freemason. I will categorically state this. I am not a Freemason. Okay? I am not a Freemason. I will never be a Freemason. I don't even know who the Freemasons are and what their agenda is, what their origins are. I haven't studied them, so I can't say. But yeah, it's an interesting group of people. So yeah, I am not a Freemason. Come on. Abhishek Singh says, Indo-China Battle of Rizangla, 1962, 120 versus 3000. The Battle of Rizangla. I will invite you all to visit Ladakh if you can. And if you visit Ladakh, I'll tell you where to go. Okay. Where's our map? Here is map. We go to Ladakh. So the capital, the largest city in Ladakh is Leh. When you go eastwards from Leh, you will reach Pangong Tso, the Pangong Lake. Now you have places like Spangmik. Spangmik is a village. Man is a village. Merak, and you can stay in these villages on the banks of the lake, Great Lake. But go further and visit Chushul. Okay, visit Chushul. Chushul is essentially a village, small town. And if you go further, you will reach the Rizangla War Memorial over here. And if you visit this place, they will show you a short movie of about 15-20 minutes, in which they will show you all the details of this battle, the Battle of Rizangla, in which 120 or so Indian soldiers fought against 3,000 Chinese. Nearby, in this region, okay, somewhere here. Rizangla is right over here somewhere. And so this Rizangla War Memorial is right. It's just a few hundred meters away from the battlefield, actually. And if you go back, what you will find is that there is this border meeting point. You will not be allowed to go there. There is this border meeting point, and you have this Chinese installation here, and then you will see this Chinese road here. So this is Chinese occupied territory. This is Chinese military infrastructure. And you can see the Chinese when you are going back to Chushul or wherever, from the Rizangla War Memorial. So I would highly recommend people, those of you who have free time and who want to see more of India, to go to Ladakh and visit the Rizangla War Memorial and find out what actually happened from the Indian Army themselves. The Rizangla War Memorial is an army installation. So when you go there, you have to enter your details, your name, your address, your phone number, and so on, and then you will be given a tour by actual army personnel. It's a great experience. Go for. I will highly recommend everyone to go and have this experience. Sam the Gamer says, how to stay calm like MS Dhoni? Well, I suppose MS Dhoni is the right person to answer that question, right? I can't answer on his behalf. But how to stay calm? Well, develop a calm mindset and be prepared. You can stay calm in all situations if you are prepared for the situations. If you've done your practice and you know how to deal with everything, then you can stay calm. If you haven't prepared well enough and you don't know how to deal with various situations, then it is hard for you to stay calm. So MS Dhoni was always well prepared, wasn't he? Right? Tremendous amount of practice and fitness and all that. So he's prepared. He knows how to deal with things. That's why I suppose he was very calm. One of the reasons why he was very calm. Okay, Pradeep Kumar Roy says, did you see the film The Truman Show, 1998? Hollywood is so much more than Bollywood. We are far behind everything from the West, Asia, and everyone. I haven't seen The Truman Show. Jim Carrey, right? Jim Carrey, and he lives in this fake make-believe universe, and he's being every action of his life is being recorded and broadcast to the world, that sort of thing. I haven't seen it. There's so many movies that I have missed. I'm sure it's a great movie. Yeah. Krit Gupta says, howdy sir, howdy to you. Can you please help me understand the Nagorno-Karabakh and Kosovo conflict respectively? Well, that's two massive conflicts, and that will take a lot of time to explain both. But how about we discuss one of these conflicts, the Nagorno-Karabakh or Artsakh conflict, right? So let's go to the map, and we shall discuss the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict in detail, in brief. In detail, it will take hours to understand. Okay, I'll tell you in brief. So when we're talking about the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, we're talking about a conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan. Okay, so when the USSR disintegrated in 1990, 1991, all these republics like Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and so on and so forth, all these became independent. They declared independence. So Armenia and Azerbaijan also declared independence. Now, when they were part of the USSR, they were all, you could say, de facto Russians. They all spoke Russian. Russian was the main language and so on. But once they became Armenia and Azerbaijan again, their old ethnic rivalry came back to the fore. And there were regions. There is this region called Artsakh. Okay, it's also called Nagorno-Karabakh. Artsakh. It's now called Artsakh, Azerbaijan. So it's this region. The map won't define it. It's over here, which is claimed by both countries. So in 1991, Armenia was stronger, and they took over Artsakh after a brief war, essentially. And later, Azerbaijan, by the 2020s, they had become more powerful. They had the support of Turkey. They had the support of Israel. And then they went to war with Armenia, and then they took over Artsakh, most of Artsakh. So Artsakh, the term that was used in the 1990s was Nagorno-Karabakh. Today it's called Artsakh. And it's a pretty old and very nasty rivalry that these two nations have. It's an ethnic rivalry. The Azerbaijanis are Turkic by culture and religion and language. Armenians are Armenians. So the Azerbaijanis have support from Turkey and also Israel. Why does Israel support Azerbaijan? Because Israel buys Azerbaijani oil, energy. So it needs to support Azerbaijan. For that practical reason, they support Azerbaijan. And Turkey supports Azerbaijan because Azerbaijan is a Turkic nation. Okay, and Turkey wants to create a pan-Turan corridor all the way from Turkey all the way to the Turkic nations, like all the way to Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Turkic nations. So the inconvenience over here geographically is Armenia, and Turkey wants to wipe Armenia out of the map of the world, and that's the whole thing. So that, in brief, is the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. Okay, this region that both countries claim. See, historically, you go back 200 years, 300 years, all of this was Armenia. There was no place called Azerbaijan. It was all Armenia. It was all the kingdom of Armenia. Armenia is a very ancient kingdom that dates back more than 2,000 years. It's one of the first Christian countries in Asia. Okay? And before Christianity, it was Indo-Aryan, Indo-Iranian, probably Zoroastrian. And before Zoroastrianism, well, you know what. So that's the story. So the conflict is about territory. And now Azerbaijan has the upper hand. Sam the Gamer says, next science episode, what are rogue planets? Would you like a science episode? If I do a science episode, the viewership will be like 1/4 of what it is right now. But I'll be happy to do it. What are rogue planets? What are rogue planets? I don't know what a rogue planet is. Does the term rogue planet exist? Is it a planet that has broken free of the gravitational influence of a star? Is it that? Rogue planets. Let's see. Rogue planet. Free floating. Yeah, okay. So, okay, I was not aware this term is being used right now. Rogue planets. So free floating planets, planets that have broken free, like I said, of the gravitational influence of their host star. So in a solar system, in a stellar system, you have a star at the center, and you have a bunch of planets that go around the star because of the star's massive gravitational influence. Now, when it comes to all these planets, there are planets of different sizes, and these are in different orbits. Sometimes the orbital interactions are chaotic. It's a multi-body system. It's an n-body system, and sometimes the planetary interactions, because of the influence of the gravity of each of the planets, sometimes it causes a planet to be flung out of the orbit and out of the solar system. Somehow a planet may get enough escape velocity to escape the gravitational pull of its own star, and then this planet goes free floating in the universe, right? So it is no longer attached to a host star. It's just out in space, in interstellar space. And apparently these are now called rogue planets. Very hard to detect them, but they can be detected through various means, maybe through gravitational lensing, through microlensing perhaps. There is gravitational lensing through which you can detect black holes and very massive objects. Dark matter can also be detected through gravitational lensing. But when it comes to smaller objects like maybe rogue planets or small black holes, you have to use microlensing. Well, through microlensing, I suppose you can detect rogue planets. I don't read Cyrillic, so I won't be able to read the name. But okay, India is the second largest beef exporter. And as cattle once stop producing milk, they are sold to butchers. That raises question on being vegetarian who consume milk but cares about animals. What's your take? Don't drink milk to save cow. That is well. So is India the second largest exporter of beef? First of all, let's see this. Largest beef exporting nations. Nations. Okay, let's see. Give it a second. Brazil, Australia, the US, and the India are the world's top beef exporting nations. Brazil is number one. Australia, India is a major global supplier, particularly for buffalo meat. So buffalo meat is also, I suppose, called beef. Yeah. The top three countries by volume are Brazil, Australia, and India. Would you believe it? India is a major beef exporter. And let's say it's buffalo meat. Still, buffalo is almost a cow, right? It's the same face. Color is different. What's my take on this? What's my take on this? It's a very difficult question right there, right? For our culture, you don't kill cows, right? So how has India ended up becoming a major beef exporting country? Even if, let's say, 80% is buffalo meat, why is 20% cow meat? So the question you're raising is, what you're saying is that once a cow stops producing milk, that cow is sold to butchers. Because otherwise you have to keep feeding the cow until the cow dies, and that's a drain on your, well, on your wealth. From a financial standpoint, yeah, okay. So the question is, let's say you're vegetarian, you consume milk, of course. If you're vegetarian in India, you consume milk, but you care about animals. So should you stop drinking milk to save the cow? I don't know. Most people won't be able to stop drinking milk, right? Indians love milk a lot, and most Indians won't be aware of the fact that this issue that milk cows, once they're old, they are sold to butchers. I'm not sure what the solution is. Should people stop drinking milk? But for vegetarians, milk is a major source of protein. Otherwise, vegetarians will be like, what protein do they have? Pulses. Yeah, milk is a major source of protein for them. I don't know. I don't think there's an easy answer anywhere here. I think the government of India has to take a stand about this. I mean, on the one hand, it may be a major booster for our GDP. Yeah. I think the government has to take a stand on this. Of course, our culture says you don't kill cows. So why is India a major beef exporter? I don't have an answer here. I don't have an answer. If I was the person making the decisions, I would ban it. But I'm not the person making the decisions. Vaibhav Dangra says, Prof. Jiang par vichar. पैक्स जुडाई का सभी रास्ते जेरूसलम की ओर इजराइल में एनवीडिया इन्वेस्टमेंट भारत में रोथस्चाइल्ड YouTube did not let me see this send this in English. Okay, Professor Jiang Parvishar. So first of all, my Hindi, I know how to read and write Hindi, but my reading speed is very poor. Why is it very poor? Because I spent a bunch of time in outside of India as a kid. Okay, so once I came back, I had to learn Hindi as if I was a foreigner, and I never developed that speed in reading and writing, especially in reading in Hindi. But of course, I can read. So Professor Jiang par vichar, पैक्स जुडाई का सभी रास्ते जेरूसलम की ओर इजराइल में एनवीडिया इन्वेस्टमेंट भारत में रोथस्चाइल्ड. I'm not aware of this. Professor Jiang, I've not seen Professor Jiang. Somebody else recommended him, Professor Jiang, just now, a while ago, a few minutes ago, an hour or so ago. So I'll check out Professor Jiang in his channel. I have not seen that. Now, Pax Judaica, I'm not aware of what he has said about Pax Judaica, Sabhi Raste, Jerusalem ki or. So does Professor Jiang speak about Pax Judaica and all roads lead to Jerusalem? Israel, NVIDIA investments in Israel. So I don't know. I'm not aware of this, but I will check it out. Maybe next time I'll have an answer for you. Right now, I don't know. Bharat mein Rothschilds, really? Rothschilds are investing in India, really? Obviously, they won't do it directly. Indirectly, somehow, I suppose. I don't know. I've not seen. I'm not aware of it. But thank you for the pointer. I will check out Professor Jiang. The second time someone's recommending Professor Jiang in today's live stream, so I'll check it out. Lasya has become a new YouTube a member of this channel. Thank you very much, Lasya. Welcome to the membership of the channel, and I am very grateful. Thank you, sir or ma'am. Thank you. Ruknualuk says, "Is Pakistan changing? I hear voices against radicalism." Nothing is changing in Pakistan. You're hearing voices where is exactly? Are you hearing voices on Pakistani social media? Are you hearing voices elsewhere? From what I see, nothing is changing in Pakistan. Unfortunately, I would love Pakistan to change and become a civilized nation, right? Revert to their roots, but I don't see that happening. I don't see it happening. You will always see some people raising voices against radicalism, some people trying to be the voice of reason. There are always, see, Pakistan isn't filled with barbarians, right? There are good people too in Pakistan. They are a small minority, I'm sure, but there are good people too in Pakistan, and they will probably raise their voices against all the terrible things that are happening. So you'll see that from time to time, but the majority is not like that. Unfortunately, that's the problem. I mean, I have people from Pakistan who are long-time viewers of this channel. Not a lot, but a few, and clearly they are sane, intelligent, good people, right? But unfortunately, they are a minority in Pakistan. The majority of Pakistanis they hate India. They have been taught to hate India. It's not even their fault, but it is what it is, right? That's why Pakistan and India are adversaries. Not through we didn't engineer the situation. We did not. Okay. Only James says, how did current civilization went from planes to moon landing in 60 years? And Bharatvarsh was not able to do it for 6,000 years. So look, there is something called a tipping point, right? When everything converges, all the technological advancements converge, and all the right conditions are present in one part of the world where sudden technological leaps can happen. And that's what we have seen in the 19th and 20th century. So how did we go from planes to moon landing is the question, right? The moon landing, it happened because of a number of technologies, not just rocket technology, but also quantum technologies and so much more. So in 1900, we did not even know what quantum mechanics was. Without the knowledge of quantum mechanics, no moon landing would have happened. None of the present day technologies would have happened. It's in the early 1900s that the first aircraft was flown, right? And then by 1969, you had the first moon landing. So much progress happened in about 60 years. Tremendous progress. The question is, why was Bharatvarsh not able to do it for 6,000 years? See, 1,000 years ago, around 1000 AD, Bharatvarsh was the most advanced civilization in the world. 1000 AD, Europe was in the Dark Ages, right? The Islamic Golden Age was beginning to start around 1000 AD because of knowledge extracted out of India. So at that time, Bharat had the most advanced knowledge structures, the educational system, universities, all of that in India. India was a fully industrialized, fully developed, and fully urbanized civilization. All of that was there. So we were the most technologically advanced civilization at that time, and yet the technology was not advanced enough, the kind of advancement you had in Europe in 1900. So in around 1000 AD, the downfall of India as a civilization starts because of the Turkic occupation. And that's where the education system is completely destroyed. Right? So around 1000 AD, the knowledge that we had and the systems that we had not yet reached that point that's called a tipping point, where suddenly all these very rapid advancements happen. Right? If India had not been destroyed civilizationally in the past 1000 years, we would have been probably the first to discover all these things. Okay, but that's all ifs and buts. It's all hypothetical because somebody else made those discoveries. Puchun says, Saab, don't you think there are too many incidental conspiracy theories about the small hats? Do you believe in any conspiracies? I stay away from conspiracy theories. I stay away from things that are based on speculation and are not grounded in hard evidence. I mean, if you start going down those rabbit holes where people make all kinds of stories and claims without hard evidence, then, I mean, that's not for me. So I stay away from conspiracy theories. There are all kinds of claims about small hats, big hats, of this hat, that hat, whatever hat, black hat, red hat, whatever. But many of these theories are based on very flimsy claims that are not backed by hard evidence. I stay away from that. So, yeah. Brahmaputra Moskva says, why is vassalage inevitable for us in 3 to 5 years? I have never said that vassalage is inevitable for us in 3 to 5 years. I've said that the probability is high. It doesn't mean inevitable. Let's say you have a 60% probability of something happening. That is not inevitability. It means there's a 40% probability it will not happen too, right? So I have never said that vassalage is inevitable. I've said that there's a higher, more than 50% probability that India becomes a vassal of the US in the next 5 years. Maybe 60% probability. But I am still optimistic it won't happen. Please, when I say something, please pay attention and understand the context and understand. Don't just take out 1 or 2 words from it. Understand exactly the full thing I'm saying. Okay? It's not inevitable. It is likely. The probability is high, but it's not inevitable. I am hopeful it doesn't happen, and I'm optimistic it doesn't happen. Okay? So let's be optimistic, shall we? Mohit Raj Singh is a new member. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, Mohit Ji, and welcome to the membership of the channel. Thank you so much. Mohit Bhatt says, is it fair to blame Emperor Ashok for the fall of Gandhar? Now, when you say fall of Gandhar, are you referring to the fall of Gandhar around 1000 AD? Of course, that's when Gandhar falls, right? That's when Gandhar is no longer part of our civilization. With the rise of the Ghori dynasty, the Ghurid dynasty, which gives us the monsters eventually like Ghori and then later Ghaznavi, who was part of the Ghaznavid Empire. So Gandhar falls around 1000 AD. Gandhar was the original Kashmir. The question you're asking is it fair to blame Emperor Ashok for the fall of Gandhar? I suppose you could blame him. And then my viewers will say, what is Abhijit talking about? Ashok lived what? 300 AD or somewhere around that time? Let's say 300 AD. Let's see. Okay, let's see his when did he rule? Ashok the Great. Oh, come on. I'm not a robot. Traffic lights. Oh, bro. Okay, here we go. Verify. Ashok Maurya, 268 BC until his death. 232 BC. So let's say 250 BC. That's Ashok, right? So what is the connection between an emperor who ruled in 250 BC and something that happened in 1000 AD? That's a gap of 1200 years. So how is he to blame? Well, he brought this obscure fringe religious movement that nobody had heard of called Buddhism, and he turned it into a global phenomenon. Right? Buddhism, Bauddha Dharma. And when it comes to Gandhar, 1000 years before today, around 1000 AD, Gandhar was almost, significantly Buddhist. Not entirely Buddhist, significantly Buddhist. And large parts of Central Asia were significantly Buddhist. And when the Turks invaded Central Asia, then India, wherever there was Buddhism, there was the almost instantaneous conversion of the populations to Islam. The Buddhists did not resist Islam. They converted. The Ghoris were Buddhists. The Ghoris were Buddhists. They were Indians. They were not Turks. And what happened? They are the first to destroy Somnath. So wherever you had Buddhism, you had the almost instantaneous conversion to Islam. And wherever you had what we now call Hinduism, there was resistance. You had Hindus in Sikhs in Gandhar in Afghanistan until like a few years ago. We resisted. So Ashok propagated this new dharmic flavor that was unable to resist, uh, conversion to Abrahamic religions at all. So yeah, in a way, you can indirectly blame Ashok for the fall of Gandhar. Yes. A. Rahul says, almost 23. Joined an MNC bank after undergrad as SDE. 2 years in, I regret it. Corporate politics, unskilled managers that treat employees unfairly. Well, that's not an unusual story. Okay, what's SDE? Let me see this, okay? SDE, full form. Senior Development Engineer or something? Software okay, what am I talking about? Software development engineer. Okay, you've joined an MNC bank as a software development engineer. And 2 years in, you regretted corporate politics, unskilled managers. Well, that's the scene in India. That's the scene in IT in India. That's how it is. So, what can I say? If I were to be harsh on you, I would say deal with it. If I don't want to be harsh with you, I'll still say deal with it. You are in this now. Obviously, the conditions aren't optimal. Politics is the most dispiriting thing for meritorious people. Meritorious people who have talent, people who have some quality in them, they hate politics because politics is about bypassing merit and talent, and progressing up the corporate ladder through underhand means. That is office politics, right? So that is the most annoying and nasty thing about corporations, but it's there. In any office, any corporation, you will have office politics. And you will have unskilled managers who treat employees, all that stuff. So my point is, look, you have chosen this particular career as of now. The choice is deal with the minefield that you're in and excel no matter what happens. Find ways of dealing with it, or maybe move to some other line of work, I suppose. So this sort of thing you'll find everywhere. Even if you move to an academic job, you'll find academic politics there. Politics, you will never be able to get rid of it. Wherever you have a collection of human beings, you will have some form of politics. So what you can do is, if you have spent 2 years, you have gained some experience. If this place is toxic, move to a different company, perhaps. So find a way. All right, sir. All the best, Rahul. All the best. Mohit Bhatt says, is polytheism the reason for the lack of unity among Hindus and Indians? If so, what's the solution? What is the reason for lack of unity among Hindus and Indians? Is it polytheism? Wasn't Rome united? Massive empire, polytheistic empire. Did polytheism come in their way? No, it did not. So what is the reason for the lack of unity among Hindus and Indians? When the Americans talk about India and Pakistan, they talk differently, right? When they talk about India, about America's relationship with India, they say shared values. When they talk about their relationship with Pakistan, they say shared interests. Remember, interests always trump values. The problem for the lack of unity among Hindus and Indians is that we have too many groups within India who have shared interests that are at odds with the interests of other groups. We don't have common interests. We have common values, polytheism, yeah, sure. But we have groups, this caste, this region, that region, who all have different interests that are clashing with other people's interests. And these divisions have been created in India artificially. And these divisions are still being maybe deepened today by politicians to create groups who have different interests from other groups. That is the reason for the lack of unity. So how do you unite Indians? by aligning everybody together and giving everybody shared interests, common interests. Not just common values, but common interests. For that, you need the right leadership. That is your solution. For that, you need the right leadership. Okay, R. Rarun Rajar. Good to see you, sir. Good to see you back. After the Epstein files, I can totally see them as evil enough to stop cancer, cure AIDS, cure, etc. for profit. I used to think these are so evil to be true. After the Epstein files, all the evil has come out in public. These people, the kind of things they do, the things they do are unspeakable. Unspeakable. The more I see this stuff on, I have not even visited the website of the Epstein files. Okay, I have not dared to do that. Whatever I see is what I see on my X timeline. Time to time, some screenshot comes out of some Epstein email from the Epstein files, and every time I see one of these things, it's more and more horrifying. Absolute monsters. Yeah. So look, one of the things in the US is the pharma industry. The pharma industry is all about profits. It's not about finding cures. It's about maintaining patients, keeping them sick for their entire lifetime. It's about creating chronic conditions that have to be treated throughout a person's lifetime. If you look at Americans, every American is on pills. Most Indians don't take pills, right? You may take pills maybe once a year or once in 2 years if you're sick, if you have some illness. But otherwise, on a day-to-day basis, do you take pills? You don't take pills. Americans take pills every day, like twice a day or whatever. They're on all kinds of pills. Antidepressants, anti-this, that, I don't know what else. So everybody is hooked on all these medicines, and without those medicines, they can't perform, they can't function properly. So yeah, it looks like the cure to cancer must be easily available, but these people have suppressed it. Cancer and God knows what other illnesses. Absolute evil monsters. Dark Side of the Moon says, proof of ISI funds Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed attacks on India. Why does US help and give aid? Why do it despite ruined economy? Why no big international outrage on innocent deaths? So you want me to provide proof of ISI funding these attacks on India? I'm proof of ISI funding. I mean, isn't it enough to know that Ajmal al-Qassab came from Pakistan? I mean, the proof, India has given dossier after dossier to Pakistan and the United Nations and the US about this. Why are you asking me for proof of these things? It's everyone knows, it's an open secret. It's not even a secret. Everyone knows this, what Pakistan does. ISI, LET, JEM, they're all part of the same thing, same organization essentially, right? And now why does the US help and give aid? Look, the US doesn't give aid. It funds. It has historically funded Pakistan. See, like this. In 1979, the USSR invaded Afghanistan. Okay? Christmas Day, 1979, was the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan. And the US was very concerned. They did not want the USSR to expand their footprint. So they decided to set up, to use Pakistan as a proxy against the USSR. So they gave Pakistan various kinds of help. One is people who are experts in guerrilla warfare, who will train Pakistanis and Afghans to fight the Soviets using guerrilla warfare. So the Americans trained these mujahideens in Pakistan who were recruited from madrasas and whatnot, and from the Afghan population who had fled to Pakistan. These mujahideens were recruited from these groups, and they were given training initially by Americans. Maybe the Americans trained the Pakistanis, who then trained the mujahideens. Okay, and then the mujahideens will need weapons. They will need funding. They'll need ammunition, arms, all that. All of that was routed into Pakistan by the Americans, but through third parties. And that's how there was this decade-long Mujahideen war against the Soviet occupation of Afghanistan. Eventually, the Soviets had to leave. So after a decade, there were so many Mujahideen camps in Pakistan and so much overcapacity for producing Mujahideens. So after the Soviets leave Afghanistan, what do you do with this? divert that into Kashmir. And the Americans knew it very well, what the Pakistanis were doing. And maybe the Americans suggested that. And during the 1980s, the Pakistanis were training all these Sikh Khalistani terrorists and pushing them into India. And that also the Americans knew. And much of the money and funding and arms and ammunition was coming through the same channels that the Mujahideens were getting. Right? So that's the deal. So why did the US do this? Why did the US fund and finance Pakistani terrorism against India? Because the Americans know what India's potential is. In the middle of the 20th century, the Americans used to talk, some dossiers, some documents have come out where they are expressing concern about India's potential rise. That if India gets its economy right, then India can rise way ahead of Imperial Japan, where Imperial Japan used to be. If India gets the right kind of leadership, then this small island of Japan, set of islands, the way it rose as an empire, India can dwarf that rise. And India was not aligned with the US. So the Americans wanted something to counterbalance India and keep India off balance always. That's Pakistan. That's why they eventually gave Pakistan nuclear weapons. Right? And the Pakistanis, why do they do it despite their ruined economy? The Pakistani generals and army people, do they care about the Pakistani economy and the Pakistani Awam? They don't care. They simply don't care. Right? So that's the deal. Okay, Sub So Nice says, Tsar was Dhanananda cruel, and how was he defeated? Dhanananda, he is said to have been a very cruel king. He is said to have been a king who taxed his people very harshly and hoarded all the money, did not use it for societal welfare, for the welfare of the empire, right? And maybe cruel as well in other ways. So that's the kind of king Dhanananda was. He was obviously a very powerful king. It is his massive military that scared off Alexander's soldiers, right? Dhanananda. So how was he defeated? A regime change led by Vishnugupta Chanakya and Chandragupta Maurya. Chanakya was the brains. Chandragupta Maurya was the guy who actually did this. And what were the mechanics and dynamics of this? Well, that's a long story. Even I have not read this in detail. But yeah, there was a war. It was a military campaign in which Dhanananda was defeated. And that's how Chandragupta Maurya became emperor. Rahul Lack says, how did you publish your books on Amazon? By what method? Have any become bestsellers? 10,000 plus. No, I haven't promoted them that much or something, and none of these are bestsellers. These are not books yet. These are individual chapters of what will eventually become a book. It's just, trying something out different. That's all. How do you publish it? Anybody can publish original works on Amazon. There is something called KDP, right? Amazon KDP. Look it out. Check it out. What you have to do is you need to have an original work that you have created yourself, and that if it's you have to format it in a certain way, and then you have to upload it to Amazon. You have to create an account and do all that, and you have to fill up the form and give a title and keywords and whatnot, and the book cover, and that gets published. That's how it is done. NPS says, why physicists get excited about oldest galaxies like MOM Z14, GNZ11, but ignores Milky Way ancientness? Milky Way is 13.6 billion years old. They can study stars here only and figure out how the first galaxies formed. Is the Milky Way 13.6 billion years old? Look, the universe is 13.8 billion years old. Is the Milky... I've not checked out the age of the Milky Way. One second. Milky Way age. How old is it? 13.6 billion years old. Well, that's interesting. It formed about 200-300 million years after the Big Bang. So now we are talking about oldest galaxies like MOM Z14. These are the oldest galaxies that have been discovered by the James Webb Space Telescope. Yeah, JWST. Now the JWST is discovering these old galaxies, really, really ancient galaxies that are so old that, they kind of break the models that we have of the universe. Our understanding of the universe was that galaxies would not form in the first couple of 100 million years, but there we have well-formed galaxies. So the point is this: the Milky Way is, let's say, it's 13.6 billion years old, like we saw. But the Milky Way is a well-formed, massive galaxy today. But when the Milky Way was first formed, let's say 200 million years into the birth of the universe, was the Milky Way already well-formed then? Probably not. Maybe only the seeds of the Milky Way had formed at the time. At the time, maybe it was a small, mini baby galaxy. But when we see these old galaxies, MOM, Z14, etc., they're already fully formed galaxies at 200 million years or whatever. So let's see the age of MOM, Z14. Yeah. Lag. Google is lagging for some reason today. MOM Z14, the most distant known galaxy, redshift of 14.44. It existed only 280 million years after the Big Bang. And it's unexpectedly bright and chemically enriched for its age. The point is, it's already well evolved. It's not a baby galaxy at 280 million years after the Big Bang. It's already a fully formed, well evolved galaxy. And that is the issue. The Milky Way must have been a baby galaxy at the time. It would not have been a massive like the MOM Z14 or the other one. Right? So that's the issue. And that's why this is so exciting and also very, well, yeah. Very exciting and definitely challenging, because it now challenges us to reformulate our models of how galaxies form and at what period of time in the universe's evolution do the first galaxies form. Clearly, we have evidence that kind of runs counter to what we understood thus far. So that's the deal. Kirmada Jones says, are Indians truly one people with a shared history? If so, how do we reconcile this with our entirely unrelated language families? See, language families and all, yeah, we have, according to the consensus linguistics, we have two language families, Aryan and Dravidian, right? But that's what the colonials taught us, and we have simply continued teaching that. Have we tried to study linguistics a priori from the very first principles all over again without incorporating the colonial baggage? It is very likely that the so-called Dravidian and Aryan language families, two different language families, also had a shared ancestor in the subcontinent. Maybe two groups of people got separated for maybe several thousand years because the subcontinent is so large. And today it's open, but in the past it was like the Amazon rainforest. It was so densely forested. So humans first reached the subcontinent, let's say about 75, 80,000 years before today. About 80,000 years before today. That's the out of Africa migration. And maybe it separated into two groups perhaps at some point in time. And they got separated for maybe several thousand years because of the incredible forestation of the subcontinent, which you don't see today at all. So today's subcontinent is not the same as the subcontinent of 20, 30, 40,000 years ago. It was way more forested. It was like the Amazon rainforest. So these people clearly had the same origins, but got separated. That is a very plausible scenario. Has any historian, has any linguist considered that? Have we tried to go down and find the deep roots of the so-called Dravidian and so-called Aryan languages? It's very possible that the roots are the same. Right? How do you know these language families are unrelated? We have never bothered to dive deeper. Our historians, our linguists remain at the superficial level deliberately. Right? Now, when it comes to shared history, maybe the two groups were separated for maybe 10,000 years. It's possible. For that, to understand that, we'll have to dig deeper into archaeology, to levels of soil, of strata of soils, which are like 20,000 years deeper, or deep, 20, 30, 40,000 years deep. The further you deep under the soil, the deeper, the further back you go in time. But we haven't done that. We are looking at something that's 2,000 years old, maybe 2,500 years old. We don't dig deeper. Our ASI doesn't care about that, or maybe they don't have funds or whatever. We simply don't research our history. We don't try to discover new things about our history, archaeologically, linguistically, culturally, whatever. Let's say I create a new organization which is a parallel of the ASI but professional, and I get funding of, let's say, $10 billion, I will set up archaeological projects all across the country, north, south, east, west. Dig deeper, find the truth of how ancient, how old the human presence is in various parts of India. And by that, you can find out if there was a separation for a certain period of time. And I would also fund a bunch of linguists. Young linguists will ignore mainstream linguistics, but drill down in linguistics based on first principles only. And I promise you, you'll find ancient connections between the two language families. But in India, no one does this. Nobody has the vision. Nobody has the inclination to do these things. And that's why we are taught that we have two unrelated language families. It's a pathetic state of affairs in this country. Instead of unifying the country, we seek to divide the country. We are one people with a shared history, shared ancestry. Our ancestry goes back 70, 80,000 years in the subcontinent. But your teachers and your textbooks won't teach you this. Genetics tells you that. Brahmaputra Moskwa says, as populations rise and some attain moksha, are new souls made? The South won't accept Sanskrit as Tamil developed quasi-separately from its solution. The solution is is high quality leadership. Today we have politicians who seek to divide us. We need politicians, not politicians, we need leaders who unite us. That's what we need. The Cholas, what are their inscriptions in? In India, Tamil and Sanskrit. Outside of India, all Sanskrit. When the Cholas vassalized the whole of Southeast Asia, which language did they bring to Southeast Asia? Sanskrit. The Cholas are the greatest of Tamils, aren't they? But today, Tamil people won't accept Sanskrit. Why? It's not foreign to Tamil people. It's their own language. It's our common civilizational language. So, the solution is the right kind of leadership, which we don't have today. As populations rise and some attain mokshas, are new souls made? Well, every living being has a soul, right? Every living being is an atma. Even a cat has an atma. Even a dog has an atma. A horse, a cow, an ant. So if a cat does some good karma in its life, maybe in the next life it will attain a higher level of existence and transition from being a cat to maybe a human being. That's the only thing that can explain the number of human beings we have on the planet today. A lot of them have risen from the lower levels and become newly minted human atmas. And that's why the quality of the human population is deteriorating, kind of, Okay. Pranav Sadhale says, don't worry, guys. Hari is coming like he had promised. Well, Hari, please hurry up. Yeah. I would like to see Hari in my lifetime. I'll be the happiest person. Feel strong, man says, are you feeling strong, man? I always feel strong, man. Should always feel strong. Strive to feel strong. Work hard to feel strong and feel strong. Love your the name, display name. Feel strong, man. Awesome. Rudra says, how should we balance dark triad traits and dharma? How should we balance dark triad traits and dharma on nation's point of view? Absolute approach, either of it is disaster. How some can balance it so great is mind-blowing. Dark triad traits. What are the dark triad traits in psychology? Narcissism, psychopathy, and one more, right? What are the dark triad traits? Dark triad traits. Come on, Google. What are you up to? Give it a second. Okay, narcissism, Machiavellism, and psychopathy. Okay. So these are three malevolent subclinical personality traits. And individuals with high scores in these traits. So this is psychology, right? It's a psychological framework, the dark triad. So the question Rudra is asking is, how should we balance these three dark triad traits: narcissism, Machiavellism, and psychopathy, and dharma or nation's POV. I'm not able to understand how three psychological traits have something to do with the nation's point of view and dharma. Okay, so if a person has these dark triad traits, can the person be dharmic? Well, I suppose if you control yourself, you can be dharmic, I suppose. I'm not sure. See, if a person has these three traits, I suppose that person will not be a very nice person, may perhaps have criminal tendencies of some kind. I'm not sure how it works, but okay. So, yeah, that person will be less likely to be a dharmic person, I suppose. Yeah. In every society, in every population, you will have some people who have these traits. Hopefully, it will be a minority, but yeah, you will have people, and some of them will obviously have criminal tendencies also. Yeah, so I am not an expert in this matter, so that's all I can say. I suppose that if somebody has these traits, all three, then they will not be very dharmic. Feels Strong Man says 2008 global crisis was the tipping point for the rise of China. Did India miss out opportunity in 2020 when the world was locked down, or is our pivotal point yet to come? See, China had done the hard work of fully industrializing by 2008. So when 2008 came, it was able to capitalize on the opportunity. Right? China had put in the hard work over decades. That's why it was ready to seize the opportunity in 2008. Now, what hard work has India done in the past few decades? Have we become a fully industrialized civilization? Have we become a major manufacturing power? Are we a major military power? Are we a $10 trillion economy? We are not any of these things as of now. Right? So, in 2020, India, for some reason, decided to lock down the country along with everybody else. Maybe it made sense. At that time, nobody knew what kind of virus this was. Coronavirus, Wuhan 19, COVID-19. No one knew at the time. Maybe it was something, maybe it could have been something as bad as the Spanish flu. That was devastating, right? So we didn't know how bad this thing was. So that's why we locked the country down. And then we went with the second wave, third wave, and all. I think that was overdone. But whatever, the government decides, right? So that's why our economy went backwards. So the whole world was locked down, and so were we. So I don't think, and India wasn't ready to take over the world or something, right? India was it still is a minor economy, only the fourth largest in the world right now. Not exactly minor, but middling economy, fourth largest. So is our pivotal point yet to come? I hope so. I hope our pivotal point is yet to come. But we'll have to do a lot more hard work before we can reach a pivotal point. We'll have to become at least a $10 trillion economy. We'll have to make significant reforms. Significant reforms before. Yeah, so yet to come. Okay. Bhagya Bhagu says, your opinion on Ambedkar, is he a divisive figure? My opinion on Ambedkar is no comments. Yeah. Iragan says, Sanskrit Tamil script discovered in Egypt recently. It was the Brahmi script, right? They call it Tamil Brahmi because it has some additional characters. So Brahmi inscriptions were discovered in some royal tomb or something in Egypt recently. And it dates back to about 2000 years or so before today. So clearly Indian travelers went there and wrote something, maybe a dedication to some god or goddess or something, that sort of thing. So it's nothing surprising. Indians were in Egypt in 2000 BC. Right. Jatin Kumar says, why English kid talk maturely than Indian kid? English kids speak in a more mature manner than compared to Indian kids. Probably because of the superior education system and the overall milieu that you're in. So, for example, if you watch Indian cartoons for kids, the kind of cartoons Indian kids watch, those cartoons, their purpose is to create people with low IQs. If you watch the cartoons like Chota Bheem, it is a recipe for creating people. It's a recipe for lowering people's IQ. And I'm sure that this is going to make lots of people very angry who watch Chota Bheem as children. I can't stand Chota Bheem. Okay, so our cartoons, our entertainment, they're all recipes for lowering children's IQ. And you compound that with the rotten education system that also lowers children's IQ. So obviously you'll have children from other countries who will be more mature and sound more intelligent and perhaps be more intelligent than Indian kids. See? Game Changer says, was adultery present in Indian society from 500 BC to 1500 AD? All castes included in this question? I am not aware. Not aware, sir. To know this, you would need ancient records, right? Ancient records, maybe ancient records of legal proceedings or whatever. All our records have been destroyed. All our records have been destroyed. So, I don't know. The Arthashastra does speak about some punishments for adultery and so on. So, looks like all deviant behavior, such behaviors were also present in Indian society. But I'm sure it was not commonplace. So, just like every society has a certain percentage of people who have criminal tendencies, similarly, every society will have a certain percentage of people who will also have adulterous tendencies. I suppose it must have been there. But if it was definitely not encouraged, it was definitely not glorified, it was definitely not widespread. ANM says, could you please explain the pager attack orchestrated by Israel's Mossad against Hezbollah? The pager attack. So, Hezbollah is this. Was it Hezbollah or was it Hamas? First of all, let's check that out. I think it was Hamas, right? Pager attack. Okay, it was Israel. It was Hezbollah because it was Lebanon. So Hezbollah is a Lebanese organization and Hamas is the Palestinian organization. So these pager attacks, what was that? So apparently these members of Hezbollah used to communicate using pagers because they knew that if they use cell phones, their communications can be tracked by external actors, maybe the US, maybe Israel, whatever, and US-Israel coordinate. So let's use pagers, an ancient device, a 20th century device. Let's use pagers to communicate. So they were using pagers. And Israel found out that these people are using pagers. And apparently the Hezbollah people they had given a big order of pagers to some Malaysian or Indonesian or something company. And Israel infiltrated somehow that company and they inserted somehow explosive components inside the pagers manufactured by this company, or maybe it was a company created by Israel and made it look like a foreign company or something like that. Okay, and these pagers were they inserted explosive devices in the pagers, and then in a coordinated manner, all these pages were blown up, and this killed or severely injured scores of Hezbollah operatives. So that was the pager attack. That was a brilliant piece of counterterrorism or whatever. Brilliant. Israel is brilliant people and brilliant operations. Mossad is, legendary for a reason, right? Sagar Ghare says, could you please list the invasions of India century-wise from the beginning to the end? Also, could you mention which territories we lost and how and which we were able to defend, overall successes and failures? Look, century-wise, it's hard to do, but let me try and do it off the top of my head. Yeah. Invasions of India. So, okay, so let's start with about 300 AD, around that time. Do we have something before that, invasion of India? I can't think of any invasion of India before, any major invasion of India before that. There were some battles. Okay, let's start with Alexander. So Alexander's attempted invasion of India, 327 BC or wherever it is. You can look up the exact dates. I don't remember exact dates. Around that time, Alexander attempted an invasion of India. It was a disaster for him. So that is Alexander. Then you have the Seleucid war against India, which was the army of Seleucus Nicator, which went to war against India briefly. It was kind of a handshake, actually. Hi, I'm here. And then India and Greece made an alliance, and we became allies and friends. So there was a Seleucid brief attempt to invade India, half-heartedly. They didn't really want to do that, but whatever. Seleucid invasion. Then you have the Greek city-states, that small states, the Greco-Bactrian kingdoms and Indo-Greek kingdoms, as a consequence of the disintegration of the Seleucid Empire. That's northwestern India, including Gandhara and Tajikistan, Tajikistan, that region. Then what happens is the Scythian invasion of India, the Indo-Scythian invasion of India. There was a domino effect. The eruption of the Xiongnu out of Mongolia, the Huns, that precipitated the exodus of the Kushans from the Tarim Basin region, which precipitated the exodus of the Scythians from Central Asia into India. A domino effect. So the Scythian invasions of India we had, then the Kushan invasion of India, then the Hunnic invasions of India around the 5th, 6th centuries AD, right? What else do we have? The Hunnic invasions of India, which eventually succeeded, kind of, right? Then you have the Turkic invasions of India, starting about. Then you have Bin Qasim around 700 AD, 800 AD, tries to invade Sindh, succeeds to some extent. Bin Qasim, Arab. Then around 1000 AD, the Turkic invasions of India start, and that's wave after wave after wave, and it goes on, and eventually it succeeds. Then the European invasions of India. So you have initially Europeans setting up trading posts and then starting to take over Indian territory. So that is European occupation of India, right? And then if we look at other parts of India, early 19th century, the Burmese invasion of Manipur, which led to 7 years of disaster. That's also an invasion of India. Then 1962 Chinese invasion of India. And I think that's about it. I'm sure I must have omitted some minor things here and there, but kind of that gives you an overview, a high level overview. All right. Okay. Devin Dore says, are you into hi-fi audio? If yes, your favorite bands. Hi-fi audio. I'm into music. I love music. I am kind of a lapsed musician myself. I still have a bunch of guitars waiting for me to pick them up. Every few months, I change the strings of the guitar and play a little bit, and then it goes back. And I should reconnect with music, shouldn't I? So I don't know what hi-fi audio is. Let me look up. Is that some special kind of audio? Hi-fi audio. What's hi-fi audio? Let's see. High fidelity audio. That's high quality music, right? Okay, so I am definitely into music. Being a lapsed musician myself, what kind of my favorite bands? Well, first of all, my favorite genre of music is Indian classical music, ragas. There was a time when I used to experiment playing ragas on guitar, using alternative tunings, not the standard EAD, GBE tuning, but alternative tunings. Each raga would have its own tuning, depending on its drone notes, its sonant and consonant note, and so on. So Indian classical music. And who are the great musicians of Indian classical music? Pandit Nikhil Banerjee, Pandit Ravi Shankar, Hari Prasad Chaurasya, Pannalal Ghosh, Ali Akbar Khan, Amjad Ali Khan, Rajan Sajan Mishra, the Dagar brothers, so many. Kishore Yamonkar, Bhimsen Joshi. So many Indian musicians, and Indian classical music is the greatest genre of music, the greatest system of music ever invented. But it's dying a slow death, and nobody's even noticing. When it comes to Western bands, yeah, sure. I don't listen to contemporary music anymore. It's garbage. It's trash. It's industrial, mass-generated music. But the bands of the 20th century were outstanding. Some of them, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, Beatles. Beatles, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, two of the greats, two of the all-time greats. I'm sure there are many, many more. The Doors, it's an American band. So many, so many. Yeah, I'm into all kinds of music. I will listen to music from Africa. I listen to music from Mali, Ali Farka Touré, Ali Farka Touré, Toumani Diabate. Nobody has heard of the names of these musicians, but I listen to them. Music from Mongolia, The Who. I'm sure you've heard of The Who now, and so on. So yeah, I'm into all kinds of music and bands. Coderjeet says, is it fine to be 100% sure about assumptions we make in daily life? I find myself anxious when I am unsure of something. I've heard physicist Steven Weinberg saying, I'm absolutely sure of nothing. So you find yourself being anxious when you are unsure of something. See, the trick is to think in terms of percentages. You can be 100% sure of everything in life. Okay? You never know what's going to happen tomorrow morning. But you can assign probabilities to things. So think probabilistically. It's quantum mechanical thing actually, but no, probabilistic thinking. So I am 99.9% sure tomorrow morning I'll wake up alive. So that's a very high probability. I am maybe 80% sure tomorrow will be a hot day. I am 60% sure of something. So think in terms of probabilities. In that way, you'll be able to manage the anxiety perhaps better, and perhaps think of ways of dealing with the other situation that may arise, or unexpected situation that may arise. Think in terms of probability. Think in terms of bets. What would you bet on if you had to put money on something? What is more likely to happen that you would actually be willing to put your money on more? Or is it like 50-50? Is it iffy? That's another way of thinking. So yeah, it's about probabilities and error bars. So how likely is the probability, and what is the what's the amount of error that this probability may have? So if you look at things that way, you may end up with a different way of thinking, and maybe not being so anxious. Okay. GXKS says, leopard spots Mars, traces of ancient microlife. Leopard spots on Mars, really? Well, that's new. Cats on Mars. Leopard spots on Mars, really? What on earth are we coming to? Leopard spots. What do we mean by that? NASA's Perseverance discovered leopard spots on a rock. Potential, albeit unconfirmed, biosignature. Millimeter-sized white spots surrounded by black rings. Well. Okay. So we have these leopard spots. These could be potentially biosignatures, is what they say. Yeah. It's not life on Mars. It is potential biosignatures. And who is this? Okay. Poppy seeds, leopard spots. Okay, so this seems to be similar to biosignatures that we find in fossils on Earth. So it's potentially traces of ancient microscopic life, but not guaranteed. So what do we do to find out? Maybe we have to transport that rock back to Earth and then examine it, or I don't know. Yeah, so it's not certain that it's a sign of ancient microscopic life, but looks like we are finding more and more clues that could potentially create a pattern that points to maybe ancient life existed on Mars, perhaps. Let's see. Wait and watch. Dark Orion says, Sir, were you trying to say that India is vassal about the Gore visit? That's a good question you're asking there. Is India a vassal? India is not a vassal. Even if Gore visits the Western, whatever, the army base, army command, it doesn't mean that India is a vassal, but it is very concerning that are we now walking the road? Are we walking down the road towards becoming vassals? Let's say, see, vassalhood is a series of steps, series of actions. It's a pattern. Let's say we stop buying Russian oil. That is concerning, which means that the Americans demanded we stop it, and we stopped it. Then let's say the demand that we will visit this army headquarters. Then we accept that. Then maybe we accept something else. So if we see a pattern over and over and over again, then you would be very concerned about being a vassal. At this point in time, I'm not concerned about India being a vassal, but I'm concerned that we are giving too much access to the Americans. And this sort of access is unusual. So I am still at this point in time not saying India is a vassal, but I'm concerned that are we now beginning to slowly give in to their demands? Still too early, but concerning. Vivek Singh has become a new member. Thank you very much, Vivek Singh Ji. Welcome to the channel's membership. I very much appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Victoria says, if we move all upper castes from the general category to OBC and place all the Muslims in the general category, then what happens? What are your views? Look, it's a nice thought experiment, Victoria ji. Look, what needs to happen is remove all categories of people, all castes, all categories, general category, some non-general category. Please make everybody the same category. And if you want to give reservations based on a family's financial and economic conditions. If a family is below a poverty line or below whatever line, then you give them reservations for maybe 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever. Not more than 20 years. And please don't discriminate based on people's so-called castes or category or whatever. The politicians say that we have to annihilate caste. Caste is a big issue in India, annihilate caste. But they have created a system which solidifies caste, which perpetuates caste. Let us destroy caste completely, right? Annihilate caste. Remove all mentions of caste from all official documents. Make people genuinely casteless. That solves the problem. And then if somebody discriminates based on caste, put them in jail. So the solutions are simple, but they don't want to do it. Okay. Vivek Singh says, what kind of reading should students and working class folks do to face the brunt of motivated Aryan invasion theory talks in colleges and office spaces with facts? What kind of reading should you do? Well, unfortunately, there is no high quality, popular, non-technical, non-scientific book on the Aryan invasion theory. I can recommend one article which can be your starting point for understanding and countering these lies. Okay, this article is here. Give me a second. Aryan invasion myth. So it's my article from 2017, which set the whole ball rolling. After that, everybody started looking into the Aryan invasion theory. This article was written in 2017. That's 9 years ago. In this article, I have put across all the facts. This article is the first time somebody put across all the facts from all these different domains of archaeology, linguistics, mythology, genetics, all of these things together in one place, from hydrology, from geology, all these facts together. Okay, and I have given references at the end. So archaeological evidence, hydrological evidence, archaeological evidence, genetic evidence. There's more literary evidence from the Bodhayana Shrotra Sutra. Once again, more archaeological evidence. This is more of that. Genetic evidence, mythological evidence, and so much more. All of this I have collated together and I've put it over here. And I've given a bunch of references at the end. So the title of the article is The Aryan Invasion Myth, How 21st Century Science Debunks 19th Century Indology. Just Google this, you will find it. All right, that's what you can begin with to arm yourself with facts against these colonial lies. All right. Prateep Kumar Roy says, I saw on predictive history channel where Professor Zhang explained how Stalin played Hitler in great detail, which eventually led to the massive industrialization of the Soviets supported by US. Continued, he explained multiple possibilities using game theory. He explained how West thinks versus Russian, empirical versus intuitive. Interesting channel. Okay, sounds really interesting. Thank you once again for the reference, and I certainly shall check out the channel of Professor Zhang. Thank you, sir. Next, Riju says Freemasonry, founded by Francis Bacon, is it? Under the Venetian Empire's influence, aimed to spread early atheism and shaped the future British Empire's worldview. They aimed to spread early atheism. Very interesting. Let's check out this Bacon character. Francis Bacon. Francis Bacon. Was it founded by Francis Bacon? Freemasonry. Let's see. Let's find out. Masonic is a foundational and hidden influence in the development of speculative Freemasonry. Philosophical, all that stuff. Okay. Interesting. Okay, thank you very much for this very interesting fact over here. Interesting. So its objective was to spread early atheism, and it shaped the future British Empire's worldview. Well, that's fascinating. One of these days, I'm going to have to dig deeper into Freemasonry. Well, thank you so much for this interesting fact here, sir. Riju, thank you. Aryan Rocking Gaming says, I scored 93.6 percentile in JEE, but I'm preparing for Indian Statistical Institute for pure math research. ISI, Kolkata, is it? I think so. JEE test speed. Indian Statistical Institute undergraduate entrance tests proof and depth. How do I explain this difference to my parents? Okay. You want to explain the difference between the testing methodology of the JEE versus the testing methodology of the Indian Statistical Institute. JEE tests for speed. How quickly can you solve a bunch of problems? And ISI tests for proofs and depth. So you need to have depth in your knowledge. You need to be able to prove, give proofs for various problems. Prove this, prove that, whatever. How do you explain the difference to your parents? Explain it in terms of, I don't know if this is a good way of explaining. T20 versus Test cricket. So let's say, how long is the JEE exam? Is it 3 hours, 4 hours? What is it? It's still a long exam, I'm sure. But it looks at how quickly you solve problems, small problems. So it's like, playing a T20 match in cricket. But JEE is about, ISI entrance exam is about proofs and depth. So it's more of, deeper preparation, clearly. So maybe you could explain by comparing one with T20 cricket and one with test match cricket. Perhaps that may go into their heads. I mean, why can't you just explain the way you explained over here? Maybe they weren't. Maybe yes. So perhaps that is an interesting, appropriate analogy. Perhaps. How else would I explain this to somebody who has no understanding of science? Yeah, I suppose that's what I would say. That's perhaps an appropriate analogy. Okay, Devin. Aryan Rocking Gaming, all the best. All the best. Do well. Okay. Devin Dore says, can we expect Mr. Abhigya Anand on my podcast? Please. Who is Abhigya Anand? Let me see. Abhigya Anand. Let us see. Abhigya Anand. Who is Abhigya Anand? Official Jyotish, astrology. Yeah, I don't understand astrology. I have no understanding of astrology, and I stay away from things I don't understand. So as you will see, I have never hosted an astrologer on my podcast. And I think that's a policy I will continue. I have absolutely zero understanding of astrology. And yeah, so I think Mr. Abhijit Anand won't appear on my podcast. Not, I'm sure he's a fantastic person and so on, but I have zero understanding of this. So makes no sense for me to go into that. Sorry. Um, Brahmaputra Moskwa says, why is Vassalage probable for us in 5 years, within the next 5 years? Why is it probable? That's a good question. Because of the way the world is changing, the way the world is shaping up, because of the way the Americans are now exerting their influence and power in reshaping the world. It's clear that they have identified a bunch of nations that are the targets. Syria is done, Venezuela is done, Cuba will perhaps be done, Iran will perhaps be done. So essentially, the entire world has to bend to America's will. Okay. Now let's say America takes over all the global sources of oil apart from Russia, and then they force India not to buy Russian oil. Then we are completely at their mercy unless we discover oil of our own. Right? There is that. And if they can, so the Americans are now being nakedly, openly imperialistic. See Marco Rubio's recent speech, wherever it was. He wants to revive Western colonialism and imperialism. And the US is way more powerful than India. And they definitely want India on their list of vassals. And they have so many ways and means of making this happen. Right? So that's why I say vassalage is probable. There's a higher probability of vassalage than sovereignty in the next 5 years. But I'm still optimistic. Hani Sharma says, Sri Lanka just won against Australia. Well, Australia lost to Namibia or something. No, Zimbabwe, right? Recently. Ngarawara, that tall bowler. Ngawara, whatever his name is. So the Australians lost to Zimbabwe. They now lost to Sri Lanka. They're out of the tournament. What happened to them? I don't know. Did they eat some dodgy prawns somewhere or something? I don't know. Very strange. Australia, really. Highly unusual. It's like 1992 all over again. The 1992 World Cup. Australia was out very fast. They defeated India by 1 run in one of the matches in 1992. Anyhow, Prateep Kumar Roy says, Professor Jiang has made various predictions like Donald Trump winning with J.D. Vance being his VP. He also said Trump was historically involved with some intelligence guy. He knows tricks safe from Epstein files. Professor Jiang seems to be really impressive as a person, yeah? Interesting. Thank you so much for these pieces of information about Professor Jiang. I will check out his channel. Sounds like a really interesting gentleman. Ankita Kachap has this gifted 5 Abhijit Chawla memberships. Thank you so much, Ankita ji. Thank you so much. So kind of you. And yeah, let me thank you on behalf of the people who have received the memberships as well. Thank you so much, Ankita ji. Chanakya says, your thoughts on Bharat allowing Rothschild and Company as individual advisor to NSE IPO, BlackRock with Geo. They are all in Epstein files, major players, deep state entering India for its host. USA will be dead. Concerning. See, I have said there is a high probability of India becoming vassalized in the next 5 years. Are we seeing the signs and symptoms of the beginning of that? I hope not, but it's very concerning. I hope not, but I'm concerned, very much so. So what are my thoughts? My only thoughts are I hope this doesn't become a pattern, and I'm very concerned about this. Koshan World says, is Nepali currency pegged to the Indian rupees? Does this make Nepal an Indian vassal to a significant extent? Is Nepalese currency pegged to Indian rupees? Let's see. Nepal rupee INR pegged Is it pegged to the INR? It's officially pegged to the Indian rupee at a fixed rate of 1.6 Nepalese rupees to 1 Indian rupee. A policy in place since 1994. Regulated by the Nepal Rashtra Bank, this arrangement ensures economic stability, it eases trade and limits exchange risks despite restricting Nepal's monetary flexibility. You know what? To be very honest, this makes Nepal, to a certain extent, an economic vassal of India. But it is beneficial for Nepal's economy because the major financial and economic transactions Nepal's people have are with India, right? We have an open border. We are the same people. And so many Nepalese people work in India, live in India. So it makes sense for this arrangement to exist. But yeah, you could say that this kind of, to some extent, vassalizes Nepal. To some small extent. Small, not major, but yeah, to some extent it does. Yeah. Humanity Survive says converting to foreign religion means becoming zombies. Well, it depends on the religion, I suppose. If you convert to Shinto religion, the Japanese traditional faith or system, do you become a zombie? If you start practicing Shinto, I don't think you become a zombie. So look, my point is, it depends on which foreign religion you're talking about, right? All religions don't make you zombies. Some may, perhaps. I don't know which they are, but whatever. Amirup Shorkar says, Europeans, even in dark ages, seemed practical and strategic. Despite India's deep knowledge, they colonized us. Why are we still so emotional today? See, everybody in some sense or the other is practical and strategic. In the dark ages, the Europeans were, well, very primitive, right? Life was hell in Europe at the time. And they colonized us despite our deep knowledge, not in the dark ages, but in the past 500 years, when they rose out of the dark ages, right? So why are we so emotional today? We are emotional today because, so what you mean by this is that most Indians are, they react emotionally rather than rationally, right? It's because we lack the ability to think critically. Our education system has destroyed that part of our intellect. And that's why we react emotionally to everything. To a lot of things, especially to things we don't understand. So when you lack intellectual tools, you will resort to reacting with emotions. And that's why a lot of Indians are so emotional. We are a very emotional people, right? Okay. Wrong one says, wrong one, back of the hand. If we can make Kaveri, why not focus transport aircraft too? I think we should focus on transport aircrafts also. Yes. Right? We should focus on transport aircrafts. We should focus on all kinds of different aircrafts. We should try and build everything in an Atmanirbhar way within India. Certainly, I agree with you. Pradeep Kumar Roy says, "Sar 1 million लगता है World War III and Third Temple construction के बाद ही होगा अब तो." Also, if they worship Baal, we can worship Indra too. 1 million on my channel, yeah, it will happen maybe after the Third World War. Yeah, YouTube has a certain policy towards my channel, so it doesn't matter. It's okay. Look, what we can't control, we don't worry about, right? My channel is gonna stay for the foreseeable future at 951K or something. Yeah, I can see every day the subscribers rise, then they come down. Then they rise, then they come down. So whatever, YouTube will do what it does. Third temple construction ke baad. That's funny, isn't it? If they worship Baal, we can worship Indra too. Well, who's stopping us from worshiping Indra? Do worship whichever god you feel inspires you, right? We can certainly resume the worship of Indra if we want to. Pradeep Kumar Roy says about Cicada 3301. Do we have something similar here? I've heard of some conspiracy theory called Cicada 3301 on the internet. I'm not sure if we have. I don't remember what it is, first of all. So let us go to internet, Cicada 3301. Dark web or something, was it? I had seen this a long time ago. Highly sophisticated, anonymous online puzzle. designed to recruit intelligent individuals with expertise in cryptography, steganography, and data security. These puzzles, released between 2012 and 2014, are considered one of the most elaborate unsolved mysteries of the internet age, and there are videos made about this and so on. Okay, so yeah, this very mysterious stuff, right? Do we have something similar here? I am not aware of it. Vihang Kurane says, "Hello, sir. How are you? I'm good, sir. I'm good. I'm very well. I hope you're doing good too. I recently read the news of discovery of Tamil Brahmi inscriptions in Egypt. Are there any historical evidence of what kind of relations existed between India and Egypt?" Well, the historical evidences, the records are gone. In India, we would have had records of diplomatic correspondence and travels and accounts of travelers and textbooks and whatnot in our ancient universities and their libraries, but everything has been destroyed. And also in ancient court records of our kingdoms and empires, but even that is destroyed. So we don't have any evidence from our side, any records from our side. When it comes to Egypt, again, most of the Egyptian records have been destroyed. Egypt has lost its own original culture, language, religion, everything. Egypt first transitioned from its culture to Greek culture after Alexander installed Ptolemy as the governor of Egypt, who then became the king of Egypt. So then, for a while, Egypt was under Greek rule. Then it was under Roman rule after Julius Caesar took over, and then eventually it became Christianized, and then it came under Islamic rule. And today, Egypt is Islamic, and all the records are gone. So whatever evidence we have, historical evidence, is only on from those inscriptions on walls and the presence of Indian zebu cattle 4,000 years ago in Egypt and so on. Or only that sort of evidence we have. We don't have any records of diplomatic correspondence or whatever else. We don't have that. It's all gone. Pradeep Kumar Roy says, predictions about the future of Bengal in India. Bengal. I don't make predictions as such. Predictions. All I'll say is that I'm optimistic. I choose to remain optimistic. Bengal, I hope Bengal sees much better days. Yeah. Bengal was a fantastically developed, incredibly prosperous, culturally great part of India. Today, not so much, right? I hope Bengal sees great days again. But predictions I will not make. India's future, well, I've said there is a high likelihood of India becoming vassalized in the next 5 years. I hope that also doesn't happen. I choose to remain optimistic, but yeah. Pradeep Kumar Roy says, old Cartoon Network was a gem. Now it's shit. Okay, I have not seen new Cartoon Network, so I'm not aware of what's there now. Old Cartoon Network 25 years ago was outstanding. Outstanding. Giora TV says, first of all, hi, good to see you. So the question is, if a person loses interest in society, marriage, or starting a family, and is solely focused and interested in gathering as much knowledge as possible, like sort of a polymath, where do you see such a person leading in life? Well, there are multiple paths such a person can take. So let's say a person has lost interest in society, marriage, starting family. All he or she wants is to gather as much knowledge as possible. And that eventually makes you kind of a polymath. Yeah, okay. Where do you see such a person heading in life? Well, a person like that can be someone who is a mentor to people in society. Right? It depends. If you are that sort of person, you have multiple choices. One, you gain a lot of knowledge, and then you spread that knowledge to the world. Maybe you write books. Maybe you do through some other means, you spread the knowledge. Another way is you mentor people. Because you have so much knowledge, so much understanding, so much wisdom, then you can mentor people. Maybe you can be a government advisor. Maybe you can, depending on what you choose. Of course, becoming a government advisor is not something you choose. You have to be really good for that. But yeah, so you can be a writer, you can be an author, you can be a mentor. Obviously, you have to make money in some way, right? So hopefully you have money also. Otherwise, you won't be able to take this path. So there are multiple paths in this manner, but from a practical perspective, make sure that you have a reliable source of income or good savings, enough savings for the rest of your life. Then you can take this path. All right. Rudra says, my question was not about person POV at all, but about how India should balance Machiavellianism, absolute pursuit of self-interest regardless of others, versus dharma for other countries. Okay, or the dark triad you were talking about, right? Okay. So the question you're asking is, what should India's approach be? Should India have a dharmic approach towards other countries? Oh, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, all countries are part of the same family. We will not exploit you, we will not hurt you, we will not harm you, we will help you whenever you need without asking anything in return. Is that the dharmic approach we should have towards other countries? Or should there be absolute pursuit of self interest? See, understand the rules of the game, first of all. Let's say I want to be dharmic, but everybody is a dharmic. Then can I play that game? The game is rigged, right? The game, what are the rules of the game? The rules of the game are the adharmic rules. But I am trying to play a dharmic approach in that. So let's say you have a football match in which you want to play in a way that is non-physical contact way, not doing any fouls, not jostling anybody, but the other team is all about jostling you and pushing you down and kicking you down. Then who wins? They win. So if the umpires allow that sort of play from them, and if you choose voluntarily not to have the same approach against them, then you are putting yourself at a disadvantage. So when you talk about dharmic approach, understand that this is the era called Kali Yuga, in which the dharmic approach doesn't work. The Machiavellian approach works. So if you are a leader of India, you should be dharmic towards your people. Your people are your family. Your citizens are your family. And everybody else, they're fair game. That's how we do it. Vihang Korane says, I am interested in learning a new language. I am fluent in Hindi, Marathi, and English. I know very basic Sanskrit. What language should I start with? Does India have good research going with regards to AI and linguistics? I'm not sure what research India is doing with AI. Linguistics, we are doing nothing whatsoever. Yeah. Zero in linguistics. AI, maybe we are doing some research. Maybe some startups are doing research in AI, perhaps. Yeah. I've heard of some new startup recently that came up and seems to be good. So there is some work being done on AI in India, but definitely not in linguistics, that as far as I know. Now, you want to learn a new language. You're fluent in Hindi, Marathi, and English, and you know very basic Sanskrit. So one option you have is to go forth with Sanskrit and learn advanced Sanskrit. That would make you, like, it will really expand your mind and brain, So that's one thing you can do. Maybe double down on Sanskrit and go from beginner all the way to advanced. That's one thing you could do. Or if you want to learn a different language, well, first of all, decide whether you want it to be part of the Indo-European language family or a different language family. If it's part of the Indo-European language family, you could learn a bunch of languages. Take one. Farsi is a very closely connected, related language to Indian languages, right? Farsi. It'll be very easy to learn if you want to. It's got a different script. It's got the Persian script, which is the derivative of the Arabic script. Or if you don't want to learn a new script, then you can learn one of the European languages. If you know English, then perhaps German will not be that hard, because English is a Germanic language related to German. So maybe German. If you want to learn one of the Romance languages in the Indo-European family, maybe French, Spanish, or Italian. Yeah. If you want to learn a non-Indo-European language, well, you could learn Japanese, Chinese, Korean, Swahili, African language, something. Arabic, some people learn Arabic. So look, there are plenty of choices, plenty of options out there. Depends on you. I can't tell you what to learn. It has to come from inside you, All right? So all the best. All the best, sir. Lalit Pawar has gifted one membership of the channel. Thank you so much, Lalit ji. Very kind of you. I'll thank you on behalf of the person who received that as well. Thank you so much. Godliness says, why US Admiral and Ambassador have free run today in our Western Command? Even for the group pictures, US Admiral was sitting in the center and our own Lieutenant General in the side. This is not normal. This is concerning, like I said a while ago. Concerning. Very concerning. The US is not an allied country. The US is a country that doesn't see India as an ally or a friend. The US has a policy of containing India, containment policy. The US is a nation that has funded and financed Pakistani terrorism against us for decades. The US is a nation that is currently siding with Pakistan They sided with Pakistan during Operation Sindhu. They took Pakistan's side. They intervened in the war and made us stop the operation. It's not exactly a friendly nation, right? It's a nation that seeks to vassalize us. And what's happening? Very, very, very concerning. Very concerning. Adi Pradhan has become a new member. Thank you very much, sir. Welcome to the channel's membership. Thank you. Geora TV says, what's your view on Karna from the Mahabharata? Do you think he was superior to or at least equal to Arjun? Karna was a nasty person. Karna was a nasty person. He was a friend of Duryodhan. He instigated Duryodhan to go to war against the Pandavas. If you read the actual Mahabharata, you will see that Karna was not a nice person. His behavior was poor. He had a nasty temper. He was no equal of Arjun. Arjun had his flaws, sure. Some flaws, but he was a great warrior. Karna, no. Karna was no equal of Arjun. Karna is a negative character in the Mahabharata. And some people today are glorifying Karna, Arjun and all that nonsense. Yeah, to some extent, he's a tragic figure. That's why some people feel sorry for him. Yeah. But he was the king of Angadesh. Sure, he had a bad childhood. Sure, okay. But he was the king of Angadesh. He turned out well. And see the choices he made. Karna is a negative character in the Mahabharata. No superior of Arjun, not even an equal of Arjun. Lalit Pawar says, I think deep state knows that such harsh step will be taken only by Trump, so they rely on Trump. Now I think deep state tilts to right or left based on public sentiment and strong president. So the way I see it, the deep state uses presidents as tools. They decide who is the right person for the right time. So maybe from 2020 to 24, Biden was the right guy, or Puppet Biden was the right guy. And maybe Trump made a deal and kissed the ring of the deep state, which is why he was made president now. So the US president is simply a tool of the deep state. The deep state is the bunch of people where the real power lies. Okay. So I agree that they will rely on Trump for now because they want to get some things done that Trump can do. And Trump is the right person for doing those things. And you think the deep state tilts right or left based on public sentiment and strong president. The deep state doesn't give a damn about public sentiment and the president. The president is a puppet of the deep state, and in the public, they are simply assets and resources. They don't care about public sentiment. They decide what public sentiment is going to be. They engineer public sentiment. They don't give a damn as to what the public thinks. They tell the public what to think. They engineer public sentiment. All right, that's the way I see it. Lalitji. Okay. Kiki Sushant says, thank you. Well, thank you so much. Thank you to you as well. Thank you very much. Sam the Gamer says, Australia lost as many key players took retirement. Okay, I see. I haven't seen the team composition of Australia. I know that they lost to Zimbabwe recently, which was strange. And many key players have taken retirement. I see. Okay, I haven't seen their team composition, so I was not aware of it. Anyway, thank you. Yeah. Shreyas Mitra is a new member. Well, thank you very much, Shreyas, and welcome to the membership of the channel. Thank you. Riju says, later, Adam Weishaupt founded a new version of Freemasonry, including occult elements. He formed a new organization called the Bavarian Illuminati. Oh, Illuminati confirmed. And there seems to be some connection between the Illuminati and the founders of the United States. If you see the US dollar note, there's the Illuminati confirmed theme there as well, right? So it looks like there are these deep subterranean connections all over the world, which connects the Freemasons to perhaps the Knights Templar, to the Illuminati, the Bavarian Illuminati, which was a real thing. And there is some connection with the founders of the United States. George Washington is supposed to have been a Freemason. Very interesting stuff. Very interesting. So thank you for this new revelation for me, at least. Thank you. Hani Sharma says, Sar, do you think some three-letter agencies may hypothetically, allegedly, perhaps may or may not have been an eye on you? Does it scare you? It's possible. It's possible. Does it scare me? No, I mean, you do your thing. Don't worry about the rest. Doesn't scare me. I don't think I do anything that in any way hurts them, right? Do they have their eye on me? It's possible they may, right? It's possible because I'm pro India and I'm kind of a public figure, and I'm kind of teaching Indians common sense and critical thinking and opening hopefully people's eyes to where the the way the world really is. So I suppose some of them may have their eyes on me. It's all right. It is what it is. Hani Sharma says one can learn Krav Maga at home simply watching or learning from YouTube. I think you can learn the basics. Tai Sabaki, footwork, etc. You can learn the basics when it comes to various patterns of self-defense and movement. Basic stuff. You will need a partner to do that with somebody. But eventually you will have to join a dojo or some kind of a school. Eventually. You can learn the absolute ground level basics from YouTube. Absolute basic stuff. But eventually you're going to have to join a school or a class or something. Hani Sharma says, my father watches you and every time he watches you, he says, why is this guy not in government? He could do so much better. His sense is low. Thank you so much, Hani Sharma ji's father. Thank you so much, sir. It's very kind of you, and I'm blessed to have your blessings. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Okay, that brings me to the end of all the questions. It's been almost 4 hours once again. So thank you so much, everybody. It was an unusual live stream on a Monday evening for us here in India. But thank you so much for all your questions. As always, okay, there's one more question that's come in. Let's take this one. Hopefully the last one for today. So CIA retired guy said at CIA they could convert the speaker in smart TV into a mic and listen what's happening in the room. This is something he has been allowed to say. I wonder what else the CIA could do. The CIA can do all kinds of stuff that we can't even imagine. Okay, understand, if you have a smartphone with you, it's always listening to you. Okay, I am aware of it. I know it's listening to me right now. I know that. So it listens to your most intimate conversations and whatnot, your deepest thoughts, not thoughts, but conversations. Your TV is listening to you. All smart devices are listening to you. Maybe they are even watching you. We don't know. Maybe they can even read your brain waves and thoughts, perhaps. I don't know. Anything's possible. So be careful. Humanity Survives says converting to these two religions is becoming zombies. All right, sir, if that is what you believe, sir. All right. I could not possibly comment about this. Okay, that brings me to the actual end of this live stream. Thank you so much, everybody, for the questions, for your viewership. I really, really value that and appreciate that. Thank you so much once again. And I look forward to seeing you in the next live streams at the end of this week. Until then, keep learning, keep raising your standards, keep asking questions. Take care, everyone. See you very soon. Bye-bye.